and my phone says it's 8 o'clock, so we'll stand to salute the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and call this official work session to order. I have just a couple questions on the budget, not a lot. I don't have a lot of questions on your budget, but I do have some.
Okay.
And I was going to clarify a couple things maybe with Tina.
Which one are we talking?
Well, right here I'm starting on the jail.
Okay.
I see, and I know you have a lot of problems with your HVAC system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard Tina say something about the half-cent sale, the half-cent tax that we have could be used to cover maybe some of those expenses.
Yeah.
Maybe even this year, am I right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is that some of the
You
The
have 40
excess.
that we had already accrued that was still in the
Yes.
escrow?
After we pay off the bond,
Yes.
there's gonna be a little bit of residual left,
Mhm.
maybe potentially around 300,000.
Oh, that's more than enough.
Probably more than, not more than that, but maybe a little less. And so, I was just wondering kind of, maybe if some of those expenses, instead of being added to the operating budget.
Sure, if we could, if that's an acceptable use of that escrow money that we had in there, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would pull, what we figured, Jim, what is that, 40?
Roughly 40,000. That's almost a year old now too.
Yeah, that quote, so roughly 40
Okay.
could come out of there if we could replace it with some of that.
Was there anything else that's in the budget that would apply to that as well, Tina, that could come out?
Well, you talked about needing to refresh some of the furnishings or some, didn't you say something about?
The equipment in the facility, the blankets, the pillows, the towels, all of that stuff is now 7, 8 years old. And we've got to, start replacing it. The blankets are ratty, the pillowcases are, the mattresses and some of the kitchen utensils and just the normal wear items that we've had in there since it was new are just
Okay.
showing a lot of age and sign and not really serviceable.
Do you know how many dollars in your budget that is, or did you figure that in?
I don't have it, no. I don't have it individually figured out.
That I would double check with Dave Arterberry on that, since they're
Was
like
that-
the disposable and more.
Is that part of commodities then?
Would be probably part of commodities.
And that residual we're talking about, is that money that is considered excess? Does that sit there, or can that be transferred in some way or another?
The way that our bond was issued, it should be, if needed, utilized for that facility.
Okay.
If the facility isn't great and it's not needed, then it could go into the general fund and be
Okay.
used for
That
anything.
was my question.
So realizing that now, would you need some time to go back and maybe relook a little something?
We would
or-
be able to get that number today for you, just kind of a rough estimate of what we had anticipated out of I don't have the actual breakdown, what he had anticipated in changing out with the items, everyday use items in the facility that we.
Okay.
correctly-
And structurally wise too, that would work right, like if any of the structure on the building or anything like that you notice is
Some of the
something
camera
that
systems.
might come up or something that we could, yeah.
We'll look at that real hard when we get back over there and kind of see where it fits or if we can utilize some of those other.
Potentially even, well, I don't know, since the system is will be housed at dispatch, potentially the security system could do that too, so.
And we may be able to utilize some of that in dispatch if it's in the facility, because they've got some big expenses coming up here shortly in there, so.
Yeah.
That would include that operating system that's not working efficiently for you?
Yes.
Okay. And some of those expenses are reflected in here, am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that would probably be a nice impact
Mhm.
if we can take some of
It
that
will.
off. Yeah, okay. So that's what I really wanted to talk to you about, to see if we could bring that out and maybe use those funds the way they're intended to be. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
relieve 2019 a little bit. That'd be good. I do have one question, which I don't know, this is probably a crazy question, so forgive me if it sounds stupid, but I see that you have a truck, I think it's a Chevy 1500 of 2013 that you're anticipating on replacing.
Correct.
Has 158,000 miles on it.
Mhm.
What is the overall condition other than just the miles?
I would say decent. It's
Not-
it's not bad, it's not falling apart.
Okay,
Uh,
it's not nickel diming you and
um,
pretty mechanically
We're
sound.
doing a little bit of stuff. We put a new belt on it yesterday, threw a belt on a call the night before, so we put a new belt on it then, which is kind of normal wear and tear, nothing unusual. Overall, it's not terrible, but I don't want to push 200,000 and 150 some was when we created this.
Mhm.
So it's pushing 165, 70 now. I don't want.
Okay, it says 158, so it's higher now than what this
Yes,
says.
yes, that was probably 3 or 4 months ago when we were working on that. That was the miles at that time.
I see, okay,
So,
okay.
So that's a daily use vehicle then?
yes, that's Sergeant Starkey's vehicle.
Okay. And I guess the reason why I was asking it, I don't even know how this would work or if it could work. I guess I'll have to rely on Randy to maybe chime in here a little bit. Road and Bridge has some trucks that they want to replace that are well up into the 200,000 mile issue. And I was just wondering if this truck would maybe work for one of those in exchange and then get rid of the older, if we could work something out like that. I don't know how that would work, Randy, could you?
Well, it's been done before, and I think you just gotta understand what Rob's telling you is that you don't wanna put an officer out there with that kind of mileage and depend on, you gotta depend on that officer getting to the scene.
No, I got
And
that.
so, and that's
why.
that's what he's talking about, but
Yeah.
the trucks that come out of there, you see the Park Lake trucks, the old brown Fords, there was 2 of them we've taken out of there and used in road, would take one to Road and Bridge, and you guys, or maybe you had both of them to start
We
with.
had both to start. One went to Road and Bridge, one went to the County Lake.
County Lake, yeah, so,
For a while.
so it's nothing new, it's the same thing we've done, but we can use that, I mean, it don't fit their needs, but it does
Yeah,
fit somebody.
it'd be accept, that,
Yeah,
as
so I mean,
far as I'm
you
concerned,
could,
it'd
you
be
could still
fine.
buy your new truck,
Yeah.
and then Road and Bridge would gain another truck that they could limp along for a little longer, maybe.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me if it goes there. What we do with them is we have traded them in, but we've discovered over the recent years that I can exceed the trade-in value with Purple Wave and put that money back into the general fund. It hurts my budget by doing that because I don't get the trade-in off of the total cost of the vehicle, which I have to pay for it.
Right.
But we put twice as much money back to the general fund. By doing so.
I was gonna say the trade-in values on those are
No.
yet to be
they're-
pretty
and-
nil.
and I understand they gotta keep the trade-in down to resale and it makes a lot of sense, but when we Purple Wave, we've got pretty good money for most of our things.
But for budget purposes, Tina, is there a value ever traded on, there never has been a value traded?
No, they just move it from one inventory to the other
Okay.
typically, unless it's a vehicle that's not paid for yet, and
Yeah.
then there's an impact.
Well, I know we've moved them, but it's usually had a loan on it or something like that.
Sometimes it has.
The simple answer is yes, if you have a better use for it than Purple Wave, then I'm fine with that.
I think right now we've got 2 down on the road bridge, one with the motor and one with transmission.
I can't guarantee how long this thing will go, but
No.
we
No,
haven't
I
had
understand
major
that.
issues with it. And Larry takes good care of his equipment.
I understand that, that's fine. So then basically, I guess, a very short visit this morning. That's basically all I have, especially since with the commodities and things that was brought up. And the other questions that I would have had is probably gonna be addressed in what you're gonna come back with, the new numbers after going through it. So that's all I have for you, really, unless somebody else here has a question for you. Otherwise, your other increases and things that you have, I know stuff goes up. And I know that you have a lot of cameras and things like that to update on.
Yeah, I got a bid the other day for those for 40, a little over 40. We've just got we're fighting, struggling, and IT and courts trying to get those videos. Great.
I see you have 4 computers in here that you're gonna replace. What, are they just basic computers or?
Just basic computers, but they have to be capable of running, because there's several different state and federal programs that are on those computers, so they have to be at a certain level of capability and interoperability, because they have to all tie in to each other, and if you get one program that doesn't tie in with the next one, it shuts your whole system down. So they're very finicky.
So they're kind of like specialized computers?
No.
You don't just go to a computer store
No.
and buy one?
No, the computers, but then the programs that have to go on them is part of the big expense and putting all those programs and tying them in together. We did get one just the other day, under sheriff was meeting one. We got one of, was it Tina's old ones?
Probably could be.
I think one of your old ones. We had Lloyd, his was 6 years old or 7 years old, and it wouldn't operate this systems anymore, under his operating system. So we found one that I think Tina had turned in and retrofitted it to, so we're getting back up with his. So one of those might come off.
Okay. And of course, I'll tell you, my whole point with this is, I'm just trying to save the taxpayers a little money. So if I can rob a mill from you and a mill from somebody else or something like that, that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to make sure that everything is running efficient, but yet trying to save this opportunity that we had this year to give the taxpayer a little bit of a break, if at all possible.
Sure, man, I'm all for that. I don't. I'm
I-
taxpayer too, but
Yeah.
you know, there's certain things that I have to effectively and efficiently operate and provide the services that we do.
I understand that, so, yeah, you say you might be able to have that adjustment back
We'll
sometime.
work on that this morning. And see if we
Okay.
can get
I'm
it.
covering the jail as well, so
Oh, good,
I'm short of an employee right now, so
We've got
okay.
I got
short staff everywhere.
So,
Okay, well, that's all I have for you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for
Thank you.
being here so early. Appreciate it.
Nothing for you, is it?
Did you have anything else, Tim, before they leave?
No,
I'm
but,
up early.
no,
I
if
like
I think of something later, I may just follow up with them, but I don't have anything.
You're
Okay,
always,
that's fine.
you're always ready. That's kind of your motto at Marion County Sheriff's Department.
We're ready.
You're always ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Here. And,
Might do it.
thing for you, for Ginger, if you want. Holler at me sometime.
My mind will probably wander.
Okay, Ed, I think, looks like you're up next. So I know you heard what I said to him, that this is the only point of this is some of the budgets that we have. And you should remember from last year, I'm just trying to squeeze a little bit more out wherever I can.
Well, I saved you $22,000 by being under budget by $22,000 when I presented it.
And I
And
want
then
to-
you raised two positions, you tried to raise two positions, so if you wanna pull them back out,
No.
I'll still be under $22,000 from this year's budget.
Scott, I have a question for you on this, and this is, because like you said, that people walking in, you kept all the ones from before, and I kept the
Yeah.
ones from before, and I'm kind of confused here, so
Okay.
before we go any further, I'm thinking the one that I have here, which one are you, let me see. This one right here shows a total 2019 expenditures of 1.5 million. Is that the current one, or is that the one previous?
Yeah, 1.5 was the last one I showed you. That's the one we were talking about with cash balances, and the levy was.
Oh, carrying over with, okay, cash carryover. We're
Yeah.
anticipating, was it 212?
Yeah, it was 212 is what I just put in there, because I was trying to figure out what 3 months would be the operating expenditures to keep the cash available. And then the levy on that, to do that, was 721, and last year's levy was 745, so there's 23,000 less in the levy. Because what happened was, we took the, if you look up there in the service fees,
The
in
increase there.
2017, it was 519, and so we'd had those lower, and then because of the way it's coming in with the billing and all that, we upped them to 500,000, so that's
Right.
why everything probably worked a little better, and then the levy went down is because of that increase on the service fees also.
Okay, okay. Okay, so the overall expenditures were up, but then because of all these changes that we made, it brings it back down. Because in 2000, wait,
Yeah,
in 2018, it was 1.3,
right.
and now 2019 is 1.5.
Yeah, and you have to remember what we talked about the other day. The reason that 19 here, and that's why we're looking at this to figure out where the cash balances are set. In the past, those cash balances were just built into the line items.
Right.
Okay, what I was doing here, not knowing if there's any cash balances built into those line items, because we do have 180 that we've already spent in the middle, and maybe more with the ambulance. And then in 19, I still have that 60 in there, for that. And so we have to kind of figure out what's got cash balances, what is actual expenditures. And the 212 is, under this new way that state's doing it, the new 212 would be the true cash balance. So I think it's a lot more transparent that way, because you know that that's going to be our projected cash carryover, and those line items are then more accurate, and they don't have extra or as much extra cash.
Right.
Now, I think it's probably good to go on like we've always done with the ambulance or some of these vehicle purchases or buildings, where we go on and identify it as a line item there, where we say ambulance replacement, and show that, that's a transparency issue, showing that we're saving that money and not really carrying cash balance. Put it in a line item, designate it, some governments call it designations, where you go in and designate what that money is for.
Right.
So that's kind of the philosophy, I think, going forward. The state wants us just to break it out like that.
Yeah.
Do we not already have that broke out?
Yeah, you did.
You did.
The cash balance,
what
they're
this-
doing the budget form statement.
Yeah, what the difference is here, they've started, they say cash forward 2019 column, 212 like that. I was just kind of estimating, trying to get it to work. What used to be is we would just build those into the line items, so that, because you see cash in 17 was 285, 212. So it's more of a transparency issue. The state's trying to break those cash balances out in the budget column.
Okay.
So that people know where that
Which
money's.
could actually be better for departments too, because then you'll see that's my projected cash carryover that I need to reserve, and it's not in one of my line items to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I wanted to, because I know that 1.5 million is actually the increase in expenditures, but then I know how we all said that, and that's what I was asking you to clarify.
And the other thing we have to realize here, that 19 budget, 18 and 19 budget could kind of go like this and this one, because whether we do a lease purchase and what the amount of that lease purchase is, depending on the 150, I think 155, or the additional chassis, which is another 39,000. So that kind of depends what amount we pick there, and that lease purchase payment would be a lot less than just paying outright cash. So that's another thing I we don't know yet, or I don't know if we've decided yet.
Well, we had discussed it, like doing a lease purchase, I don't know if we finalized it, but we discussed that that's a possibility.
Well, you had agreed to do one unless there's money in the budget to
Right.
fund it. And in the current year budget, there isn't gonna be enough to fund both
Yeah, we'll be-
purchases
Right.
outright. So that, you know, my intention is to go out for bids on lease purchase sometime in August.
Yeah, I remember that, I know we purchased those 2 ambulances at one because of the.
Because you got a
high
cheaper price.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna owe about 115,000 left when the other unit comes in. So we can either lease purchase just the 115, or you can lease purchase the full price of that unit for 155, which would bring money back into the budget that was budgeted for other purposes this year. So we could do it either way at that point. So that would be another approximately 35,000 that would come into the cash balance then on that.
Okay. So, and then,
So you had my budget set at 1.5.
yeah,
That's counting cash carryover. We're not quite there yet, but that's what,
Yeah. we're not.
Okay. Because that's like
but that will probably, that's pretty close.
200,000 more than I.
Right, but that's because he's trying to make sure that there's cash carryover in the budget.
See, what the problem is under the tax lid right now, if we don't watch that cash carryover closely, what ends up happening is we're limited on the amount that we can raise on taxes. And if we spend the cash balances down and don't watch those closely, we'll sit here in about 2 or 3 years and not have any cash and not be able to levy it because the tax lid. So that's
Because
why.
I think last year, it was 168, right? Is what we carried over.
162 is what I show.
162 that we
Mhm.
carried over.
Mhm. What
Do
kind
you
of a
think
rule?
we're gonna make 212?
Yeah, to kind of give you, I mean, rough idea. So you had, and it's probably a little bit low based on the expenditures in the middle column because you've upped your budget, I mean, your operations, the way you're operating. 'Cause if you look at the total expenditures in 17, it's 851, and we're at 1.3 in the middle column. So really, to be realistic, you should take 1348776 divided by 12, and that would be 112,398 is what your average expenditures are per month, okay? And then a rule of thumb is take that times 3. So really it's setting at maybe 337. I divided off of 17's numbers to get the cash carryover just to go forward, but it's kind of a rule of thumb because you're more like a business.
Right.
Okay, so like these other funds might only be a 1-month cash carryover because they don't have as much, you know, it's pretty well personnel services, you know, some commodities, and it kind of rolls over. Yours kind of fluctuate, it's more like a business. So the general fund's that way and the road and bridge is that way because you want to make sure you have healthy funds in those three or so, because they can really bite you if you don't in a tax lid situation. So that's why, so we're sitting here 212 and the 3 months of the middle column will be 337. So we might be a little bit low right now, but hopefully, depending on what this lease purchase does, that'll bring some cash back in.
Right.
Okay. And so I think we're, you know, we're.
And the other
pretty
thing to
close.
think about too, last year we levied taxes at 745, and this year, even with the cash carryover, we're only levying taxes at 721. So we're charging less taxes for this fund, but it's because the income that's coming in is higher, that's where the cash is
Yes,
coming from.
right.
Yeah, because I know last year we brought in over half of our budget
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, 850 and his total expenditures, you brought in 519, so.
And so, am I wrong? I don't think he's under the tax lid, is he?
No.
EMS, I don't think he's so
not.
all that ruling of the tax lid doesn't apply necessarily to him.
So,
It wouldn't be, but what I guess I'm saying is, yeah, I think you have to treat every fund as if they are, even though, you know, because, okay, here's what's gonna happen, is if we don't watch it like that, we're gonna lose that 2 mil that you're trying to save. All of a sudden, next year, we're gonna add that to the top. So what the mill levy will end up doing is going from 75, which is right now, okay, and you drop it to, let's just say you drop it to 72 or 73, and then next year we don't have cash there, and for some reason the collections are horrible, I don't know. That mill levy right on his, because you can add his to the top of the tax lid, so all of a sudden you've added that to the top of the tax lid, and you're up to 77. You see what I'm saying? Because
That would be true, yes, if we don't lower the tax levy this year, then it would go up,
yeah,
right?
even if you did,
If
there
I
could be a.
did, then you would have that little cushy to take it back up to where we would be next year flat.
Potentially, yes. I'm just saying, I watch all the
Okay.
funds like they're a tax lid fund
Yeah, then
because,
that's a safe way to go.
yes,
Right.
Well,
I'd rather
yeah.
be conservative.
And even when we don't build that line item in for cash, your department heads will tell you that they have to have cash carryover.
Yeah.
And if it's looking like they're not going to, they're hearing from me.
Well,
Because,
yeah, I mean, I watch that pretty close.
yeah, they all watch them.
Yep.
Because
That's
we
what
don't even
carries
get a
us in
tax
January.
distribution.
That's right.
We don't have a monthly income.
Right.
Okay, so we have several tax distributions through the year, and we can never spend more cash than we have in any one fund. And so, at the end of the year, as we're doing the budget tracking for the departments, and we're looking at that in our office, and we're making sure nobody's going over budget, and that nobody's going over their cash balances, if there's a fund that's close, I'm getting with that department head, and I'm saying, you're running really short on your cash, or on your, you looks like you may go over budget, you need to cut it back. And we always figure for them to have, we try at least 2 months of cash carryover to start the next year. That's where we like to be when we're watching them over there. So, we're doing that already,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I
It's
think
just being shown on the budget now,
Right.
which I think is great.
I do too.
Yeah, I love
I like that feature right there, and it is more transparent, yes.
you just have to remember that, like Tina brought up a great point here. So like, now that we've got the billing kind of regulated now, we got cash flow coming in regular, that's a good thing, because in the past, sometimes that's not been happening, and so if you don't have extra cash there and the billing doesn't come in, you're gonna be out money, and then the general fund has to pick it up.
Right.
And so like, in the road and bridge is another good example. If you look in May, June, July, and you go, wow, we got some incredible balances here. Well, by the time the road projects are over in October, there's no money sitting
gone.
there, and your distribution, the next distribution doesn't come till January 20th. And you still gotta pay the salaries, so that's why we have to carry those extra cash balances to make sure because the last big distribution you'll get would be July 20.
September,
Well, September's not very
it's not
big
as
though.
big, June.
June and
June
July is the
20.
last, yeah, June 20 is the last big one you'll get, so you gotta run a long time with cash. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to, I agree with that on that cash carryover. I think that's a good way to do that, for transparency. So, then we'll get back, all this stuff here, I have no problem, I know commodities and all that stuff goes up, but you held that pretty close. But I am gonna question, and as far as the extra two people that, were they part-time people that we part-time, and that's to kind of help when you have people that take vacations and stuff, or just wherever you need them, just extra people, I got that. So, I talked to Matthew last night, I didn't know he left, I'm really disappointed
Yeah.
that he left.
Yep, he resigned
Yes, I
after
thought.
8 months of being, on military.
Yeah, anyway, that happens. So I guess my big question is, and this is where I know we're gonna probably disagree a little bit, and that is on hiring the training officer, this year. I'm asking if we could kind of forego that this year. Again, in an effort to kind of work with the mill levy to kind of just come down a little bit. The reason I say that too is I remember last year, we had paid for you and Josh to go to school to be able to train. And so I'm wondering if maybe Josh or you could somehow figure out a way to forego this particular salary. It's $45,000 a year plus benefits, I would guess is probably $55,000 or something, give or take for that one position maybe.
And
If we could forego
how do you
that
regulate the overtime
on the training.
on Josh?
on, well, I was just asking if he could be able to, while he's,
It's overtime. I'm paying him overtime to do it.
okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, when they're in a, when they're in the station and they don't have calls, could they do classes at that time? And I realize if something
But
terrible
if you're
comes
wanting
up-
him to do EMT classes and training at night,
No, I didn't say at night, I don't.
that's the
care,
only
I'm not-
time we can do it.
When does he do his CPR classes?
Well, we do that, me and Josh do that during the day. But I have to pay him when he's not working to do it.
Cause you've got him on a regular work schedule and
Yeah.
then you pull him in to do other things, to
Yeah.
other times.
And I gotta pay that overtime.
Yes.
Even when it's during the day?
Yes.
Right, okay.
If he's not working and he's teaching, he's getting paid. And that's overtime. So my question is, how do you regulate that? How do I know how much to budget? Because you might take that position away, but I'm still gonna pay it either way.
I wonder if it would make sense to do a different, like an increase on the hourly rate, like for whoever your training officer is, if they're already working in the department, like set an additional dollar amount per hour. And I know it would still be subject to overtime and that's okay, but if you know they're gonna be training, if you can work that in as part of their schedule,
I can't
to where
do
you
that.
can fill in on your regular schedule with some of the
That
other
makes it
personnel.
pretty tough. I have a hard time now
I know,
doing
but,
that.
and then also you have that position that's been approved that you haven't hired yet for
Yeah.
for your assistant, but that should maybe help level that off a bit.
Okay, so you have, and I just wanna make sure that you're having enough coverage. So with the people that you had, so you had a paramedic resign, what, a month or so ago?
Mhm.
Did you replace him already?
Yes.
Okay, and so then, just to get back up to what we have right here, we need to replace Matthew.
I already did.
You already did? Okay, awesome. So then this is pretty much what you have for payroll right here. And then you're gonna hire 2 additional part-time people.
Okay.
I mean, I'm asking you.
If that's what you're gonna allow me to do,
I
yeah.
thought that's what's in the budget.
That's what you put in there, yes.
Yes, okay. And that is to cover calls and things like that, not training, that's to cover the calls, actual workforce.
That is as long as they can work when I need them to work. Because they have other jobs.
Okay, but when.
So like in August, there's 2 days that I have open. None of my part-timers can do it because of their other jobs. The 3 part-timers I have right now, none of them can fill them 2 shifts.
Because we don't have,
Because
we don't
they're
have a
other-
person that can, we don't have a flip-flop person to pull in yet on our schedule.
Well, yeah, there's no,
No person that you can
the
move
3
around.
people that I have part-time,
Mhm.
none of the 3 can cover them 2 days I have open
Right.
because of their other work schedule.
In the budget that you presented, there are only, you have 4 part-time, and
Yeah.
we're not talking about, you're not still talking about adding 2
2
more
more.
on top of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
that's not included in the number Scott put on here.
Yeah, on the
It should have
on the
been.
1,028,028 should include them. Yeah, because he proposed 995, I don't know if that's a 6 or an 8.3. but-
My current page
Oh,
13
mine.
shows 991 on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know where he come up with that number, because that's, even
Well,
what he
he's-
proposed is 995.
I have 995,683.
What it is you, I don't know if you have these yet, but we go through and we calculate what the salaries, based on the staff positions you have in place, the 18, I went through and dropped all those in. And then on this one, we calculated what the 19 would be based on current, and I don't remember if the part-time.
I wonder if that was just a little bit of reduction in the volunteer, because
Yeah.
right now, we've got it budgeted at 13, and you're paying them about 11 and a half a month, so we may have reduced it on that.
So the
Yeah.
991 was just off one of those sheets that we were, like we're doing all the other departments, without any increases, raises, I don't know.
So if we change that 991,484 up to where it's actually proposed at 1,028,107, then that will affect the bottom line too.
And that would eat up the difference between the 721 and the 745 we levied last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
unless we reduce a little bit there in some of that. Okay, so, and that did confuse me, that's why I kept going back and forth.
Yeah,
with
the
these
1
sheets.
million though was proposed when we were adding the 2 part-time.
Yes,
And I
that's
thought that you
right.
said that you didn't wanna add them anymore.
What?
The last time that Scott was here, you said that you had made a mistake and that by adding those 2 positions, because they were you saw that the training officer was already in the budget, and
Okay.
so,
Yeah, when I said that, I did not know that in his budget, I mean, I just looked at it.
he
at a
already
glance.
had
Well,
it.
that's 2 different things though, but I didn't realize it at the time that in the proposed budget of the 995, he had included the training officer
Right.
and the
So,
assistant, so.
based on what you said that you had made a mistake, we did not include those extra 2 part-time, 32,000 in the number that we gave Scott.
Then
So-
that would have still took it back to the 995 instead of the
Right.
991.
Which was reduced a little bit more because of the part-time,
Okay,
so,
well, what I'm saying is, okay, I
or
guess.
except volunteers.
Yeah, I didn't, at the time, I did not know that,
Mhm.
because I didn't read the individual name or the categories as to who was in the employee list. But as far as him being able to operate, to have sufficient staff to answer calls, he probably needs those extra part-time people.
I would
right?
rather have the assistant director and the training officer than 2 part-times, because that's a guarantee I have coverage.
So your training officer will also then be taking,
Help me cover call if somebody calls in sick, or if I have to cover shifts, yes, absolutely.
and so then he'll be also receiving that overtime.
Likely, if he's gonna be on
Not
taking
if,
calls.
not if we put him as a salaried employee.
We'll have to see
I
how
didn't
it
think
falls.
I didn't think you could do that.
It's gonna depend on what the actual duties are. If they're taking call, if they're on the truck,
It's
You
no
know-
different than what I'm doing.
yeah, but you're in charge of hiring and firing and all that in your department, so it is different. There's some different rules, so I'd have to just make sure that
It's,
falls in the right spot.
it's no different by law. I know that by
Okay.
departments that I've worked with.
Okay, well, we'll just make sure that the duties fall in line there with the
So if
law.
he's correct and there is no difference, then we could actually salary some other people too.
No,
But, okay, but that's why he was saying that you could.
it's all depending on the duties, and we're not gonna be able to salary, I can tell you, anybody that's on one of those EMS, like the
If they're on
paramedics or
truck,
anybody
you can't
else,
touch
no, we cannot.
You
We
can't
cannot.
salary them.
No.
So that would be the trainer then couldn't take calls because then
He could,
No,
But he
I'm not
could
saying
get
that.
overtime.
I'm not saying that. It just depends on what other duties they have and how frequently they're doing some of those things. So that would have to be evaluated and looked at. So at this point, I can't tell you one way or the other without knowing more information. So it's a possibility. But even
Get some
if,
salary.
even if we find out they can't be, based on scheduling and how he does it, if we know that's the number that he's got for that position, you need to keep it there, keep it within there,
we'll just salary him and make that done.
I know you keep saying that, but
We
we
can
will
do
follow
it.
the law and make sure.
We can do it. I wouldn't say that we can do it if we couldn't.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you, go ahead, I'm sorry, Randy.
Correct. I mean, I was in favor of putting the 2 positions on, and I still am. But I guess I was in favor of putting those 2 on so that if you had, during the week, you had 2 shifts that was, what are they, 12-hour shifts or 24s or
24s.
So, but if you had a shift that needed covered, that person could cover that shift.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's
So-
why I
That's the
make him a
intention.
salaried employee.
Okay. So.
Because then I can adjust their training time. If they fill in a shift, I can back off the training time.
Right, right, yeah, or either one of those 2 positions besides yours, yes. Yeah, that's, and to do that, you're saying they have to be salaried?
I'd like them to be salaried. The assistant director and the training officer, I'd like salaried positions.
Provided
Well,
we
and
meet-
irregardless, we're getting sidetracked on that issue.
Yeah.
Irregardless,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking budget and those administrative details of whether they're gonna be salaried or not salaried, that'll be worked out, but.
Well, it makes a
Well, it-
difference whether I'd vote for it.
Yeah,
If they're not, and then I've gotta fill the positions. And I gotta know
What do you
this.
mean?
We've got a
You're gonna
problem.
you'd have the person to be able to do it, whether they're salaried or hourly. Their job would be to do the training and fill in as needed to take
Okay.
call, regardless of how you're paying them, I think.
But it's, to you, it's much easier on it for scheduling. You know what you've got.
Correct.
Okay.
If I have them two positions.
You hire 2 more part-time positions,
No, not the
They're
part-time.
full-time.
full-time
The
positions.
full-time positions.
But I mean, like you said, with the part-time, they can't fill.
Right, and that's what I'm having issues with right now, with the 3 part-time I have now.
Your ball field out here to draw from is not big enough to fill that one day, because 3 of them's already got a regular job.
Right.
But I don't wanna be able to sit here during this next year's budget and say, or have the director come in and say, well, I have to fill full-time positions.
yeah, I don't either.
So I want that covered, is what I'm
That's,
getting at.
that's what I'm kinda getting at too, and that's why I just jumped on it and said, well, if you need 2 more to fill those schedules, then do that, but, and I am really confused about the, ability here to salary. Because I guess I basically just asked the same thing about Josh, even though he takes calls, if he could be, you could salary him.
But right
But-
now, he is on the truck, you cannot salary him.
Unless you change his job title.
Change his
position
job
to-
description.
Yes, that's what I was saying, because you
He's
already
not
have,
official training officer yet.
well, he is.
He's a
He has
he's a
qualifications.
qualification, but he does not have that position.
Okay,
Yeah, we sent him to school to do that.
yes.
Yeah, so he could fill that position. Right,
Correct.
he could, yes.
Absolutely.
And so if he did, then that would be, a salary position. So I just wanna clarify. So you don't wanna do that with Josh, you wanna keep Josh where he's at, and I'm just saying Josh only because he's the only one that I know that is also qualified to be a trainer.
No, that was my thought, was
What?
to put him in that position.
But then that leaves the
So then
paramedic
I
position,
hi-
or the
no.
EMT
He's not-
position.
I'll
excuse me,
hire the
open
EMT
that
position.
you would have to fill.
Yeah.
Exactly, but, EMT positions are a lot. Oh, he's an EMT, he's not a, okay, he's an EMT, so an EMT is an EMT, okay. So what you're saying right now, Ed, if I'm reading you right, is if we go ahead and approve this budget with these 2 full-time, people, you're good to go for cover your shifts.
Yeah, we should be good.
So we won't be faced with hiring or being stuck in the middle of,
The only issue we're gonna run into down the road is the volunteer status in the other areas. I can't guarantee anything on them. I mean, because the people in them areas are getting older, you know, and we're gonna try to help that with teaching EMT classes. I put an ad in the paper, I've gotten 1 response.
and I know of 2 people that wanna be on that. I have the name written down here, I think, where she works at the Tampa restaurant. Is it Ashley? I think it's Ashley, she wants to be on
No
that.
idea.
So she obviously didn't contact
Nobody
you
has
yet?
called me.
Well, I know she does, and I know there's another one that wants to be on that too. When it comes to the part-times, the volunteers, now that you mentioned that, yeah, I wanted to understand, on the volunteers, I think they could really help relieve some things. I know up in Tampa, I'm gonna speak for Tampa,
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
because we love our volunteers.
Yep.
We're happy with our volunteers, they're dedicated. We don't have any volunteers that are old, that are gonna be leaving anytime soon, that I know of. So, having said that, I'd like to know, on some of the volunteers, on some of the training and things, and this is a little bit off of the subject matter, but, on the training, like, there was a training up at the Trade Wind, And the volunteers were not allowed to participate in that training. Will they be allowed to participate in the next one?
They were asked to participate and told me no, because they had other stuff going on.
Oh, really?
That is why I sent a full-time truck up there, because the person was not on call that you're talking about. And the person that was on call said, I'd rather not because I have other stuff to do.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So
I'm getting
that's
two
why I
different
sent a
stories, so
full-time truck up there.
I'm getting two different stories, so I'm not gonna dispute that. But I did talk to them, and I know they'd like to have the training, so I'll just put it to you this way, I know there's another big training coming up.
Yep,
Um,
and they're gonna do it because
And
I
they're
don't
gonna
have
do it.
any other trucks to go up there to do it.
okay. All right.
Because my other two trucks will be doing the same day. We have the marathon run here in Marion and the walk, the cancer, what's that called?
Relay for
Life.
The Relay for Life.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Relay for Life. So I've already talked to Randy Frank about that and said, yeah, we're gonna coordinate that with Tampa because we have nobody else to run up there.
Okay. And that's the only reason I bring it up, is because it does affect the budget. The more we can implement our volunteers, especially your gung-ho ones that really like it, the better off we are financially, you know, and I really want to keep them.
I know one of the
Yeah.
volunteers up there got another full-time job,
Yes, I know,
You
but
know,
that's temporary.
and that's
It's full-time, but
shorts-
it's temporary.
but
and
it
he'll be back.
shorts Tampa quite a bit.
Mhm. But I think, but anyway, yeah, it is temporary and he'll be back, but ultimately, my only point is, in Tampa, we do have an awesome volunteer, everybody loves them. And I do wanna keep them, they wanna stay there, and they wanna participate in everything that they can participate in, trainings and everything. And I'm thankful for that because it helps the budget, okay? So that's all where we're talking today is budget.
Absolutely.
And so, I just wanted to, bring that out a little bit there about the volunteers and stuff up there. I can't speak for them anyplace else, if they're all old in the other districts or retiring, whatever the case may be, I don't know. But,
I'm just saying the age. You look at the age of the people. I'm not saying they're old.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
just
I
saying.
can't
Thank you,
disagree. Now, we
You
don't-
know,
we're not gonna
health
dis-
problems come up like that.
We're not gonna discriminate against age.
I'm just saying, look at
Um,
the age of your people.
Yeah, so,
Because you have to, doing this.
yeah. So, okay,
Ask that guy over there how many times he tried to quit.
Yeah.
Due to age.
You're not really quitting, but retiring.
he just-
How many
I'm
times
done
have you
now. I let my license expire, I'm done.
Aw. I bet that was a hard one,
Yeah.
to let it.
Yes.
so we have a lot of wind company, well, we have a couple of new wind companies that may be coming into, I'm hearing rumor about, I don't know what's gonna happen, but we have at least 2, maybe 3 more potential wind companies coming in, something like that. And, are we gonna be able to, like, when they need, CPR classes and stuff, accommodate them with that?
As long as they're willing to pay what I'm gonna charge. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And see, and you know, the reason.
Because I'm not gonna charge them less than what I'm gonna charge anybody else in our county.
Well, I guess my only point of bringing that up is because we here as a commission sat here in front of Enel and Tradewind and said, buy local, buy local, buy local, buy local. And of course, then they had 50 people, I think, according to Michaela, their safety manager, and wanted us to give them CPR classes
Yep.
and tried to work with you a little bit on the price. And they wanted to pay, what, $40 a person or something, and you said
And I
50?
charge 50.
Yeah, and so they asked you to compromise and maybe go 45.
No, they did, they kept hounding me at 40. I'm not gonna charge less than what I'm gonna charge anybody else in our county.
Even at,
I don't
even if
think
you're gonna
that's fair.
50 at a time.
I
think,
teach 200 to 300 a year
well, I understand that, but I'm just saying this is,
in our county.
I understand what you're saying over a year's period of time, but I'm just simply saying you got 50 people at one time. I mean, that's a lot of money,
And I don't
to
have
accommodate-
instructors to do 50 at one time.
Well, the issue wasn't the instructors, the issue was the price. And I'm just trying to, again, that would help the budget, not only that, kind of help the report a little bit, because the county's getting a really bad name. Like the trade, maybe, you know, the mean old county, the way we treat people, but I just kind of thought that it would have been nice if we could have worked with them a little bit in whatever way. And I don't know how, I didn't know if they wanted all 50 at one time. I just know Michaela was disappointed that we weren't able to
And I told
do that
her,
for her.
she got nasty with me on the phone and said, then I can do it online for 35, and I said, okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
she did. She told me that, you know,
if
they had
she-
other recourses, but they tried to do it with us, but that you wouldn't budge from the price or work with them at all. So she did tell me that she, and
so
that's
if
what they
I budge
ultimately
for
did.
them, I gotta budge for everybody in our county.
No, I think it just comes down to business, because usually when you buy one box of paper, you pay more than if you buy 50 boxes of paper. You usually get a discount there. It's just the way business works.
So when I teach all the bus drivers in the county, which is well over 50, I'm gonna have to discount them.
Wonder what the, well, no, I'm not
I
gonna tell you
mean-
what I'm not gonna tell you what you need to charge. I'm not here to do that. I'm just saying that I just thought it would have been nice if we could have worked a little bit with them.
I
You know, what
was.
they're putting into.
I was willing to do it at what we charge to do it. I told her I'd do it.
I'd rather see us give people in the county a break and charge the outsiders more.
Well, that's how you're gonna bring people in, I'll tell you that. So. Okay. Do you have any other questions, Randy?
No, just so that those people, that the two people that you hired comes on, was trying to help the position. That's why I voted for them, was trying, that they help fill out when somebody, cold, sickness, goes to the service. I guess maybe that one of them problems was probably gone now.
One
One of them, I think he still has another one.
guy, still two.
Two more. But hopefully that's what we need to look forward to, is try getting those, somebody that can fill those positions where you don't have to use the part-time so much.
Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I didn't make any games on that one. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Is Jesse ready?
I can give seat. We were kind of allowing 45 minutes for each, and so I had told him a little bit later.
While you're waiting, I'll give you some reading.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Good catch.
The Blue Green Algae, when it come on TV, I had 2 or 3 people call and say, what, how come Marion County Lake's not in it? And all the, you know, I mean, they just, yeah. I don't know, maybe they got the answer here.
Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
we're all reading the paper.
I see that.
Mhm.
Are we supposed to be reading something?
No, we're just handing them out to everybody.
Oh, okay.
Merry Christmas there about everybody.
Alex, nice article.
Which one's that?
It's about him. What brought you to this part of the state from New York?
Job.
A job,
Oh,
really?
yeah. And it helps my cousins in Wichita, so.
Oh, there you go.
You
Yeah,
know, he
family.
really
was-
helped me with the move.
Yeah.
Like I landed and he picked me up right away and we went and bought my car.
Wow,
Yeah, so it was a
Nice.
pretty quick turnaround.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where did you live in New York?
Yeah.
Where did you live in New York?
Like south of Rochester.
So,
No, like pretty about this situation to Wichita, so like an hour. But I went to school up on Lake Ontario, so it was pretty windy, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
I just visited New York State
Oh,
last
okay.
month.
Where'd
and,
you go? Yeah.
Well, we went over by, we went to Central Square.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I went to school right by there at SUNY Oswego.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah. Sorry. Where else did you go?
We went into Syracuse a little bit, and then we did take a little day trip in New York City.
Yeah,
All
oh,
in
yeah.
one day.
Oh, well, we're busy
We
here,
drove
Jesse.
there.
Morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Look at that, we got
Crazy.
some
Yeah,
pictures.
it was.
Yeah, you can find things up there in your designated chair, I can see better. Don't you love that chair?
Love it.
I love it.
I
Okay.
guess I better get numbered.
So, of course, Jesse, the reason why I requested that you come here, and you know me, I'm gonna try to squeeze a little bit out of you. We talked about this a little bit before, just briefly. I know budgets are the time to put in whatever we would like to make things better, easier, whatever. And we have a profound opportunity this year maybe to reduce the mill levy by even just a little bit. So, in an effort to save the taxpayers a little bit of money, that's what I'm doing. So of course I'm going to the budget that I see has the biggest, broadest opportunity to maybe take a little here and there. So, and I do have just some basic questions for you. I'm going to start with, okay, I'm going to start with the simplest thing. And that is, so on your, and I'm looking at the road and bridge, just a basic road and bridge one under your commodities. From 2017, you had $225,000, and you're asking for you're asking for $275,000 for 2019 in your commodities, and that includes equipment, parts, shop tools, supplies, shop building supplies, tires, oil, propane, miscellaneous stuff. So that's approximately from 2017, and right now in 2018, you also had the 375, so you kept that flat. Do you know what, was there any left over on that, Scott, from 2000? Oh, we don't
I was
have-
just
we
trying to
don't
figure
have
out
a
where,
track.
what page you
We
were
don't
on.
have a track on that.
You're, okay.
Yeah.
I think she's back here, Scott.
She's on the maintenance shop.
The maintenance shop,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm, okay. So you're looking at the 375,
Right.
and the budget for 18 was 375.
Mm-hmm. But 2017 was 225.
Yeah.
And so if that is for tires and tools and equipment, parts and stuff like that, did we spend all of that in, no, we don't have a track record on that, but in 2017, did we come short on that 225, or did we kind of look flat on that?
These numbers you're looking at are the actual spending,
I understand
not the
that.
budget.
Okay, so he actually
Yeah,
spent,
okay, this is
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those examples where
Yeah, I
potentially,
think
I'm
that-
not sure, is the cash balances are built into those line items when you budget them. like in the past. And this actual you're looking at is the difference between that, because in that fund alone, you carry somewhere around a $2 million cash carryover. So in the past, the $2 million was spread between blacktop roads, gravel roads, maintenance shop, and fuel. And so that's why when you compare 375 to 225, there's probably gonna be a difference.
So,
Okay.
So
And
in the
then
future, we're gonna try to start working that cash balance down into that,
Other line.
yeah.
so potentially, unless you have any big things scheduled this year, Jesse, that you would need in that line item, because it potentially you might be able to reduce that line item.
No, I mean, as of right now, no, we don't have any, I mean, you don't know the unknowns, but one of the reasons I know we're still trying to find the room and availability to try to get some kind of lift, and that's, some of that got moved up a year or two ago to 375 budget. I took from the sign line item. We had 150 sitting in there, and we moved 75 of it into the shop commodities. Me expecting possibly a heater going down in there in the shop. Also been wanting to try to find room for a car lift in there. So I've seen some other expenses, but right now we're struggling trying to find the space for any kind of lift. But the other thing is just the unknown. So I guess, yeah, I mean, like a year or two ago, we added 75,000 from the signs to that. So it was, I think, right at 300, maybe just a little less a couple of years ago, or a year or two ago. And I think we were doing okay there. The only other thing is why we weren't even using near the budget in the sign for 150,000, because now the signposts and the signs itself was coming out of the sign department, but all the hardware that goes with it and everything was coming out of shop commodities. I'm like, well, we're barely even using that, so what's helped the shop commodities if all that stuff's coming out of there anyways? Let's move some of that money over to the shop commodities. So that was also another reason of trying to move that over there, so we wouldn't go over that line item. So I would say there's probably a little bit of flexibility, except for the unknowns of what could happen, or, you know, as far as me wanting a lift for the guys, maybe that's out of the option. I mean, we're still struggling finding space for a lift, so we'd have to have the space for ourselves before I could even have it. But
Right.
Yeah, an outdoor lift isn't gonna do you any good in winter time, because that's probably when you wanna use it the most.
yeah.
Okay. So,
I think some of this too, I mean, just to be real honest with you, you know, when you start trying to put $2 million of cash carryover in line items and spread it around a little bit, you build it into there, it's just gonna happen, you know, and you don't know what fuel prices are gonna do. So in the past, this whole area of maintenance shop was the one that had to make sure that we had enough cash carryover built into it to, if, like we said the other day, if it goes from 294 or whatever you pay for up to 394, I mean, that makes a lot of difference, you know, quickly. So I think that's some of it too. It just kind of gets spread around there. So we're trying going forward, trying to make these line items. I think the state's wanting to do that too. Just try to build them where the cash shows and the items are closer.
yeah, I got it. And in the fuel, I see that he has increased the fuel too, up to 520,000, because he allowed for the increase in cost and bumped it up quite a bit. So, and in his fuel, and I understand that, so I'm not even gonna worry about that fuel going up, because who knows? So, but I didn't know if that need was there for that 375 this year, since he was there last year as well. And since he explained that it was for the hopes of maybe a lift or something, which doesn't have the space to get a lift. And realizing that we maybe don't need all that 375 there.
Would we have some flexibility in moving some of that around?
Yeah.
I mean, to the equipment line or wherever you feel like is.
Well, I think
Gravel or
everyone here knows I'm willing to try to help. What are we talking about? Are we talking about
taking some of this money and moving it somewhere else, or are we just trying to
No.
cut the budget itself?
I'm trying to cut the budget.
Okay.
Okay, now, and this one right here, you know, 75,000, I mean, not 75,000. But I just was questioning this. I'm not really on to this one, I'm on to something else here in a little bit, but I was just asking about
Mhm.
that. That was just a question that I had, because I seen shop tools, and I was thinking, what do we buy at shop tools? Because surely the mechanic buy, but a lift, I got that.
Tools and parts as well for,
Yeah, I see
Equipment.
that,
You know-
tires, all that stuff.
and the older our equipment gets and vehicles get, if we start pulling from that, that's what I'm worried about. If we're not gonna be replacing some of this equipment for new or nicer used, I'm worried what's gonna happen to our shop commodities when we're trying to buy parts for these pieces of equipment and vehicles. If we start taking that, because if we would happen to, let's say we pull the equipment budget, drop that a little bit, I don't know if that's one of your questions, but if we would, we're gonna have to keep trying to repair this used stuff and buying parts for them, and I'm just kind of worried about that issue too. I mean, it's just the unknowns. I like having, I know we gotta be careful with having that cushion on everything, and I'm not trying to have a cushion on everything, but I do like a little bit of security involved in stuff. That way, I'm not begging you guys for something when we don't have it.
No, I understand, I'm not saying anything about a cushion, but I'm just saying, if we
Yeah.
have into the budget, the cost maybe of a lift that maybe we can't get anyway.
I mean, you're looking at your actual for 2017, we spent 225, almost 226. We have 375 in there. Yes, I did have some other attentions. Obviously, there's a little bit of room to move there, so.
Or just take some out.
Yeah, correct. I mean, yeah,
Okay, so that was one of my questions.
okay.
Let's get on to, this is just a question, okay? I noticed as I was looking at your 2019 to 2023 chip and seal plan that you have out here, and the 49 miles of road that you kind of do chip and seal on.
50 miles, almost.
Yeah. So I guess, didn't I hear you say that it takes about 17,000 to do a mile of chip and seal? I think when we were
Yeah, I mean, if
talking
you-
about that deal at Morris County, because I had to go up and you had said 16.9 something.
Yeah, 16.5, something
To
like
do
that.
a chip and seal.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, with our roads, and I just decided to figure this a little bit, you're suggesting that you're gonna hopefully be able to do 49.5 miles at $719,292. If you figure that out, that's actually 14,500 a mile. So I'm wondering, with the state of our roads, are we getting a little too skimpy there? What's the difference from the 17,000 on that section of road and the 14,500 on these?
What you're figuring here is just materials.
Okay,
That
So then-
1 mile that I quoted you guys was labor, equipment costs, fuel. I tried to quote you everything that is involved in 1 mile as far as that quote there, because that's what the quote they gave me was. They included labor, fuel, how many vehicles, this and that. So possibly that number is different, because all you're looking at here on the chip seal plan is the oil and the material.
okay, so actually then, that 719,000 is not a total accurate figure to do 49 miles of chip and
Correct.
seal.
I mean, there's, yes,
Okay.
fuel and labor involved.
Okay,
Now,
But your fuel and labor are budgeted elsewhere though, in the
Yeah.
county budget.
yes,
right,
so, yeah.
okay. So where I was hoping to really make some change is on your trucks, Jesse. So you're asking for 4 new trucks, and that's about $170,000. So what I'm gonna ask of you is what we could do, by the way, I will mention, the sheriff was in earlier, and he has a half-ton truck that has, what I say, 150, 60, I know it's up a little bit more now. Let's say
165 right
165.
now, I think.
165,000 miles on it, and he says it's in pretty fair shape, pretty decent shape. So I'm just wondering if one of these trucks that you have here that you're wishing to buy, that has well over 200,000 for one of your supervisors, would you think that it would be a fair thing to do to take that one from the sheriff, which has less miles and is in decent condition, in exchange for your worst truck that you have on here? I don't know which one had the highest miles, but let's just say whichever one has the highest miles or in the worst condition. Would you be willing to go ahead and take the one from the sheriff in exchange for that one, which would limp you along for another year on that truck?
And do with what on the other one? Like one that I choose that needs to go, or what?
What I'm gonna say then is, because I know you have one that, with those high miles, it may start. You said, I think that it's pretty fair, it's still running good, it just has high miles. And so for a rotation purpose, just to be safe, you were wanting to replace it. So I'm just saying, if you replace that one with the highest miles, that kind of foregoes that, okay? Trade that off with the sheriff. Randy was explaining a little bit about that. And then, yes, forego the other purchases. Maybe just leave $35,000 or $40,000 in that instead of the 170. Leave enough money to buy one just in case, so you have your cushion in case the other one goes bad or something. Then that way you wouldn't be in a pickle. You would have the money there to make a purchase if in case something happened. Yes, Randy.
I totally disagree with what your philosophy is there, and I think that needs to be brought to a vote of the commission, because he's got his budget there, he's got it set, and what he's doing for his trucks, he's trying to move some of the supervisor's trucks into the crew. We can move the sheriff's vehicle over into the, take the place of the one with the transfer, or the high dollar one, $9,000 for the motor or something like that. But you
Yeah,
have
getting
figured-
some better
but
figures for
you can
all
move
of
it over to that and save that 9,000 and not spend it on a truck that's got a blown motor and move down that way. But I'm totally in favor, like I said the other day, I'll stick with my guns the other day. I said either buy two new ones, and Jesse next year, or we buy 3 new ones like he proposed, and then take care of the sheriff's vehicle over here and that moves some of the vehicles down, and you don't spend any money on the ones that's already shot. So that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
for that. So back to the question then at hand, Jesse, if we were to go ahead and do that, that would be $1 million that we would save just in those trucks. A truck with 105,000 miles on it, I don't even think, to even consider replacing that. And I know you're gonna pass it down, I understand that. But I just think we don't have to make these purchases this year. I think we can probably do away with at least 2 of those purchases, keep one purchase, and then take the sheriff's vehicle to accommodate the other. And I know what Randy was talking about with the blown motor and the transmission, but that is not the trucks that you're asking to be replaced here. Those are other trucks that the mechanic needs to take care of. That's a different situation. So I'm asking if we can do something better with those trucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always something, if they're offering to trade me or give me their vehicle and we figure out what we do with the one we're replacing it with, yeah, that's, I'd be always willing to do that. Are we talking about this year's budget or next year's
We're
budget?
talking about 2019.
Okay, but
Money.
that's where, if I have money in my budget now this year, what's holding us up from being able to use my budget in equipment?
Because this is your projected 2019.
I understand, and that's why, since we're not getting a brand new dump truck this year, I have room and availability for this year to maybe get a pull behind mower this year, or get maybe some small attachments for a skid steer this year, or 1 or 2 trucks this year, and be able to help out this list on 2019.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking you, because
Okay.
I'm not working on 2018 budget. I'm only looking at what you presented for 2019.
Correct.
So if you still have money left over in 2018, and if you can do that,
Okay.
then that's fine. So then we can go ahead and take this 170,000 off, and that's what I'm asking. Now, you come up with something that I didn't know, because like I said, I'm not even looking at 2018.
Well, that's what,
So-
I guess maybe misunderstanding, that's kind of where I've been at, is I know I have some money this year that I'd like to maybe break into this list for 2019 right now. And, I mean, yeah, I'd take any used truck right now from the sheriff's department to help out another truck that's hurt, maybe that blown transmission or blown engine, you know. And right now, we're still working on numbers for used engines and new engines, better numbers for you three, on replacements for those two trucks, but, yeah.
Okay, so basically, I just want to clarify, are we in agreement here that you have the money in 2018 that you can go ahead and take care of this?
Two, for sure two, possibly, maybe all three.
Okay.
Wait a
So
minute now.
then,
I mean,
You've got, what you mentioned earlier was, we've got tractors out here that's mowers that we have no, so that's,
I
we've got,
I'm, that's what I'm trying to prioritize
Yeah.
this year is our mowers are in sad shape. So right now, definitely this year or next year, I have to get some pull behind mowers. Definitely a backhoe next year.
and you have that here? You have that
Yes, I
listed
do.
on it,
And
yes.
I try to list more on this for like the next year, possibly because of the situation we're in right now. We may be able to get one or two items this year yet to help out. I'm trying to put more than what our budget is allowing us for in 2019. Just, I want you three to have.
If you have the budget, you can take in and can take care of some of this.
I'm just
I'd
trying
say
to
do
show
that.
you a list of
Sure.
things where we're hurting.
Absolutely.
So you three can see where we're hurting pretty bad.
But Jesse, that's confusing to me because you're presenting this to us as a budget request.
Yes,
So,
I am.
that's what I'm looking at is a budget request, but if you can do it in 2018, and that's already money that's allocated, okay? So, I'm asking you, since you said that, and since that's what, I guess we misunderstood what this was, or what, so we can go ahead and take this 170,000 off of here then, am I right?
Possibly, yes. Just depending on what this year brings. I mean, depending on what this year brings, if I can get any of this stuff, or, we can possibly not all, let's see, there's 4 trucks on this budget request.
So let's say 3, let's say, take 3 off.
Yeah, I mean, if we got 3 of them this year, or maybe 2 trucks and maybe a pull behind mower,
Right.
you would have to minus that money out.
Okay, so, no, the backhoe, the pull-behind mower, and the mower boom, I'm not addressing that at this time. I'm just talking about the trucks.
I understand, I'm just trying to prioritize, that's
Okay.
all.
And I just don't wanna leave here being confused as to what we said.
That's fine.
Okay, so,
that's-
as I understand it, you're thinking that you have enough money in your 2018 budget to buy, let's say, 2 trucks.
Yes,
Okay.
that's only if you don't buy a semi, which was already proposed to buy, right?
Or what?
A semi truck,
dump truck.
dump truck.
But we just bought 3 dump trucks. Why would we
We-
buy a brand new?
We proposed to buy 2 brand new trucks.
But even though we proposed to buy 2 brand new trucks, why would we buy brand new trucks at $150-some thousand a piece when we just bought 3 of them for $60,000-70,000?
That may be broke down when we go use them,
And maybe not.
maybe not.
Jesse checked them out
but Why
very
does the
thoroughly
state get rid of them?
because the state has a whole lot more tax income than what we do.
Well, we're getting a long ways from Scott's time up for budget, and I just,
I might say one thing here, just listen to the conversation. I mean, I understand we're trying to, either pay for it in 19 or 18, or trying to cut here, trying to cut there, but one thing that really concerns me when we start working on the road and bridge, I went back to 2012 budget on the state website. I just wanted to kind of see what we spent, because one of the big concerns here is these roads, okay? So if we're really wanting to do 7 million, that's what I brought up the other day, if we're really wanting to do $7 million on roads, we've got maybe 4 million in capital improvement, maybe 5, I don't know, depends on how much you spend this year. All of a sudden, we have a $2 million gap, maybe 3, okay? And there has been an emphasis in the road and bridge fund. So if you looked at this handout I give you on page 12 of what the road and bridge department budget looks like, and these are numbers that I just carried over with that cash carryover 3 months, okay? So they may need some adjustment, because I've got it, maybe some of them double reported, but if you just go down through here and just big areas, if you look at the administration, and I'm going down the right-hand column, it's total in the 19 budget is 343. You see that number?
No, I'm not even on what page you're at.
Page 12,
Circle 12.
circled 12.
Okay, so where you at?
Okay, I'm on the right-hand column, I'm going down by department. We broke these departments out several years ago, trying to break out how much we spent on blacktop, how much we spent on gravel. So that first one, administration, in 2012, we're at 343 here budget. In 2012, it was 292. Okay, and I'm just giving you the big numbers. I'm not gonna go down any further. And we spent in that 2010, which is the actual year in the 2012 budget, we spent 340,000. So we're not too far off of 343 right there. So that one's pretty tight. I mean, that's about the same. We go to the next one, blacktop roads, and this is where we budgeted cash in line items, but we budgeted in blacktop roads in 2012, 1,388,000, okay? We spent 867 in 10 in the actual year. Here we've budgeted 2.3 million and we spent 1.9 million, okay? We go down to the next one, gravel roads. Gravel roads, we have 1.7 million in the 19 column, and we spent, or we budgeted gravel roads back then 1 million, but in that 2010 year we spent 1.1 million. So these numbers are not that, I mean, they're pretty accurate. The bridge is 120 back then, it's 220 now, but we do have a lot of critical fractured bridges that we need to take care of. And then maintenance shop, back then was 854 and actual was right at 800, and we're at 1.1, but we've identified that some of that is fuel that we built in there and all that. This budget is a very big moving target, because what happens is if you start taking cash out of here, like those pickups or trucks or whatever, it may not be a savings, it may be a how I mean, this is my perspective anyway. How are we gonna pay for the roads? That's a thing that scares me, because I've had to work with that for a long time here. So it's not like I'm not wanting to save money. I'm just saying some of those savings you're talking about may not be savings in mill levy. They may be savings enough to be able to do this road project or this road project. You see what I'm saying?
I do,
Okay.
but I'm trying to save the taxpayer.
I totally understand that. I said that the other
And what I'm
day.
talking about here, Scott, is I'm not talking about the gravel or the fuel or all that stuff. I'm not touching that. I understand he needs the materials to do that. The same way with the dump trucks. I'm not questioning the fact that we need dump trucks. I'm questioning the fact that, do we need to spend $156,000 for a dump truck when we have proven that we can buy very good dump trucks for $20,000, $30,000?
And that's a decision you as commissioners have to make.
And
I
that's what
totally
I'm trying,
understand
and that's what I'm
that.
trying to get at right here, when Randy said we budgeted for 2 new dump trucks. And I do remember that conversation.
Sure.
And that was before it was brought to our attention that we could, look at some of these other places and pick up some good used vehicles. And so then after that, that's when Jesse started looking at some of these places, and he looked at a lot of places. He didn't just buy any dump truck. He took the time, and we even waited to get specific ones that he liked the best. Am I correct, Jesse?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just simply
best or the
saying,
worst.
I'm just simply saying that by being prudent, and we have the time, we're here in the middle of 2018, so we have the time, if you need 2 more dump trucks, we have plenty of time to buy maybe 2 more, 3 more, at 20, 30,000 a piece, rather than the 150, which even after you spend the 150 for the dump truck, then you gotta buy the blade and all that other stuff, or whatever attachments that you would need to put on it. So, I mean, I'm just looking
I
at
totally
buying the same thing.
Totally understand. I mean, I
That's
totally
what I'm
understand.
questioning.
Yeah, and those are great questions. I totally understand.
Okay.
How many miles is in the $7 million we're gonna spend?
15.
Okay. $466,000 a mile?
That's
That's a
a
total.
group
You
that
got-
like to concrete stabilization, doing the base and.
They also
culverts.
included culverts, they also included ditch work,
Okay.
and they jacked up the estimate of price.
Well, let's
of
just say it's
asphalt.
200,000 a mile, but I mean, if it's 460, I'm just using a number, okay?
460,000 a mile?
Yeah, okay. So let's just say it's 200,000 a mile, because here's what I'm trying to, the number I'm trying to prove. We save 180,000 on trucks and all this we're talking about, and that barely does a mile of the $7 million road project. Because one of the things I always get asked, we do all this gyrations of numbers, Scott, can you find us money to be able to do this road project? And that's the reason I keep bringing this up, because these little extras we're talking about in these line items may be enough to do another mile here or that mile there. It's not like it's gonna go and reduce the mill levy. You see, I don't know if I'm being clear here, because that really concerns me doing the budget this many times, and if we've got this many road projects, if we're not gonna do road projects, and let's reduce the mill levy and go on down the road. I guess that's what I'm trying, maybe I'm not explaining that correctly, because back when we did road projects 2001, it was 45,000 a mile for 2-inch overlay. Now that's not rebuilding it or whatever, but when we start getting to 200,000, that's $1.5 million a mile, and those are serious numbers. And
The 330th project was roughly right at 2.2 million for 8 miles, right, 8 miles?
Right.
275,000 a mile.
275, okay. So see, that's what I guess, I totally understand. You're making good, you're trying to make the best decision on buying things, and that's awesome. And that's saving the county money, and that's saving the taxpayers' money. What we're talking about here is we're trying to take the whole piece of the pie and take, okay, so if we save 200,000 here, and we cut the mill levy by
Half a mil, whatever.
whatever. Yeah, and we've got a mile, every mile's 275, and the chip and seal way back was only like maybe 5,000 miles. Now it's 14 without labor costs. Those numbers add up quickly, and so that's what I guess I was trying to say the other day, and maybe I didn't make myself clear, is when we talk big numbers for budget here to make sure that we have cash carryover and to make sure that we have enough budget in there to do these big things. The small things are important, but they don't impact the mill levy and these things that we're trying to do as quickly. Yeah, they add together. Don't get me wrong. So
Are you saying that saving money here means that you have money to put into the roads?
Yeah.
Like into your gravel?
When I look at those
or
extra
into the other
dollars in the line items of the road and bridge budget, my mind is clicking going, okay, I've got $100,000 I can take from commodities maybe, because he doesn't need it, a lift over there at the building. And that $100,000 just automatically went in to do a half mile on the road project.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Or fix a
I
bridge.
I'm not-
I do see what you're saying, but
So I don't know where we're gonna get the money if we don't do that. That's the question I have. If we don't take that 100,000 that we're not gonna spend in the commodities and put it into the roads and we cut it, how are we gonna come up with the money over here for the roads? That's the way, that's just the way I've always processed this, because those are big numbers and it takes a lot of big numbers.
I understand that, and we have budgets for all that. And I know some of the projects that we're proposing are even bigger yet. And, okay, so even this 170,000 isn't gonna help that multi-million thing that much.
It'll help there, that's what my mind is thinking.
Half a mile.
You
But
know,
it's not gonna help the
what I'm
tax
saying
base.
is, I don't think we wanna go in to say all of a sudden, we get that 175, if our ultimate goal here is to reduce the mill levy by 2, okay, just say that is. And you're saying, okay, it's 170, and so that's about 1.3 mils. And if we think that 1.3 mils right there is automatically gonna go and take care of the 1.3 of the 2 mils, I would say that would be a mistake. That's just the way I would look at it, because what we're doing is we're cutting here when we've got literally way more than 1.3 mils over here in the road project that we have no idea how we're gonna fund. We don't know how we're gonna fund, I mean, I don't, maybe you guys do, I don't know how we're gonna fund it, because $2 million in a budget with $136,000 a mil, and we don't have a bond issue, we don't have there's no money just sitting around, or the 1.5 million less the 788,000 that you got in the transfer station, where are we gonna come up with 750,000 that we could have come up with without literally running the cash balances in the ground? So when you start saving money, that's awesome. You can, talk to different department heads, but when you start saving that money, it's gotta go somewhere else and not reduce the mill levy right now. I don't see how, I can see we can do it 1 year, but if we're wanting all this stuff to happen down the road in the next 3 years, and we're in a tax lid situation, that means there's no extra now, maybe at the ambulance, but the ambulance really don't, their levy is, we're pretty well got that one figured out. Because we now have the billing process coming in, so that makes you feel good, the cash is gonna be there. And so that levy's probably not gonna matter as much, because it's probably gonna stay flat. But these other ones, the road and bridge in general, they don't stay flat. And that's why I'm trying to make sure we're thinking about how we're gonna do some of these other projects and put that all into one ball here and see if it fits or not. That's my.
By cutting line items, it's very hard to get it back to in the future. Is that
Yeah.
a pretty tough situation as well?
Well, as long as everybody's on the same page with that, okay, so let's just say you cut 170,000, or let's say you cut 100,000 out of that commodity line item in the maintenance shop, and the next year you find a way to put a lift in there. They would all have to agree, but you could go in and, we could add that back to that line item. But there's a lot of moving pieces to this budget. It's not just that one line item. You've got to look at those line items, but you've got to say, you start with, the way I look at it is you just start with the big ones. Are we really set on doing roads? That's the question I would ask. If we're not set on doing roads, then boy, that's a lot of money we can put a lot of other places. But if we're set on doing roads, and that's a decision you all have to make, then I'd say we have to figure out how are we gonna fill that gap to be able to do those roads? Because we don't have a gap filler right now, unless I've missed some money somewhere.
You're talking about moving situations, and Jesse, you know what's happening in the south end right now on the blacktops?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah,
In the last 2 weeks?
yeah.
What's happening?
Silage trucks.
Yeah. What's happening is they're coming from up north here somewhere, they're cutting silage, and the semis, and all of a sudden I've had 3 calls. What are you gonna do about the blacktops? Because of these silage trucks, they're semis, they're not just the little ones, it's the bobtails that you see.
Yeah,
And they're tearing 60, or mill up, and then,
Nighthawk even more.
Nighthawk, both of them, that's where they're going right now.
There's all going to feedlot.
Coming from Canton going out to Potwin.
Coming from Canton, is that how
Coming
they
from
go?
Canton going to Potwin.
Okay. Then the other
They're
night,
not
there was
staying.
3 semis coming out of Marion that traveled it and went down that road. So that's the moving part. That I didn't expect that road to start looking like it's doing right now, but I didn't expect the semi-traffic that's on it, that's in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, Diane,
Yeah.
back to your line items. To me, if any Joe citizen was sitting right here, and you said you got that accomplished, $100,000 out of a line item in the road and bridge budget, and that person's sitting on a blacktop road that you're gonna work on in the next 6 months, and they've got potholes everywhere.
We have them all over this county, so that's nothing
Exactly.
new.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
So, would Joe citizen wanna take that $100,000 and reduce the mill levy, okay? Or will you take that 100,000 you saved over here, because that's prudent business operations, trying to make something cut over here so you can pay something over here, and they would get their potholes fixed on that road that happens to be in front of their house, which would make them more excited or more thinking that Marion County Commissioners are watching out for them. That's what if I was a citizen of Marion County sitting on that road, that's a question I guess I would.
I think we have to have a philosophy going forward. Are we going to be a road building county, or are we going to be a gravel road county? What now? And like you were saying, what does a taxpayer say? There's quite a few residents that live on blacktop roads in this county, and if I told them I can reduce your taxes some, but you got rocks in front of your house.
Yeah, I just told my wife that we used the county road from Galva to Mound Ridge, and we fly a lot right along there. It's a nice blacktop road. But in Chautauqua County where I grew up, that would be a gravel road. and we wouldn't be going that road. You know, we would be going off the interstate and down and around, and that's I don't know how many roads went back to gravel, but the lot went back to gravel from when we first put them to the 2-inch overlay in 2001, didn't they?
2000, yeah, 2000 when they went overlaid over
Mhm.
45 miles or something
Mhm.
like that, yeah. Diane, your statement
that's
a
just a
couple of weeks
question.
ago about to Jesse was you'd like to not have, you'd like to rebuild half the roads right instead of putting
Yes.
it on top and
Yes.
patching on top.
Yes.
The
And
biggest thing that I see is what he asked for right then was, well, I don't have the cash to do it, I don't have the time to, through the summer to do it, and how am I gonna do my job, because I've gotta please all these people around, and I think that's somewhat the question that I've got right here, why I'm pretty staunch on leaving her the same, is because I wanna give him the most capability that he has to do his job, instead of taking and cutting him, and then, well, we don't have the money here, and then somewhere it's gonna come back up. I just know it is. I've sat here too long that I know that we cut down and we gotta go back up, or we do what Kent said, we go to gravel roads, we tear them up
And I'll be honest with you, that mill levy staying the same, I guess that's not as much of my concern, because that extra that we're gonna build in there because of the assessed value is going into a line item that will be for disasters or whatever, you know, with road, okay? But if we go and cut it by that, and then we go into each of these budgets like this, especially the road and bridge budget, the bigger question to me is if we really have decided as commissioners that we want this road finished and this road finished and done right, what's that price tag? That's the first question. You know, what's the price tag? Is it really 7 million or is it 5 million? And then once we know that dollar amount, what resources can we pull together from all these different funds? Some are available, some aren't. Some you can't move money out of, some you can. But if we wanted to do that, and that was really our goal, is to do that $5 million, for example, we could make no transfer if we could, or a reduced transfer to the special equipment fund out of the road and bridge, cut it in half, there's 500,000 down to 250, okay? And we may, hopefully we'll be able to pay the lease purchases, whatever we have going on in that 250, but that's kind of a one-time fix, because you know what's gonna happen is it's gonna be back up to 500 the next year, because the backhoe, I mean, I'm just saying, so I think in budgeting, if you can say, okay, the road, we are so set, this road, these 2 roads, we're gonna get them done in 19, and here's the price tag. Now that price tag could change, I mean, the bids could come in less or whatever, or it could come in more. But that's what as budgeting, that's what I like to know, is because I know I gotta figure out a way to make those dollars happen. And if those dollars don't happen, those projects don't happen. You know, I mean, and I'm all about looking at efficiencies and effectiveness. I mean, we talked about that the other day. But I think, because this budget here, really even, the one I showed you here, has the cash carryover and those cash built into that. And we are not gonna adopt it at this amount here, because that makes it almost 30-some mills, just in the road and bridge department. What I was showing you here was cash carryover and how the line items were done in the past. So we're gonna have to cut this pretty good just to get that down. So that's why when I hear extras here or there, I'm thinking the big picture and saying, oh, I could take that mill levy, put it in the road and bridge fund, and then put it to the road project and increase the blacktop road in that budget from blacktop projects from 1 million to 1.2 million. You see what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm just giving you, that's what I'm called to do here.
I
is-
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just totally disagree, because I think you talk about looking at the big picture.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the big picture,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay,
So we're not gonna tax ourselves to prosperity,
No.
okay?
that's right.
We have a situation in our county, we have an economic development group. They're gonna try to bring businesses in.
Mhm.
That is something we're just plain not gonna accomplish with our tax levy, with our tax mill, the way our taxes are right now. I sat at the economic development meeting last night, and there's big trouble. I also met with a potential economic development director, very, very bright woman, very impressed with her, come in from the East Coast, very knowledgeable, sat and listened to her, talked to her, had all these ideas, full of energy, we have all this potential here in this county to grow, and she thinks she can do this. Except, she said, we have one challenge. Your taxes are too high. We're not gonna be able to bring people in. It's gonna be a tough one. So, how do we keep raising it? Well, we're gonna have nice roads and we're gonna have all this type of stuff, but we're not gonna have the people. Our population was something like 12,800, last year or the year prior. We're down to just a little over 12,000. People are leaving. Now, I've been doing some reading this last week, and the studies show, we were talking about pay increases and things like that, and our employees jumping the line and going over to shop or going to Dickinson County to get a job, or other counties to get a job because of our low pay. And the context that I'm getting from reading all these studies is, it doesn't matter if your employees go to the next county to get a job. They live here. They're paying property taxes here. They are spending money here. Now, true, they're gonna shop there too, but so what? But when they pack up and move and go to another county, then you lost them. And that's what you don't wanna have happen. That's a big loss. I live here, I shop at Carlson's and Dale's all the time, but I shop in Salina a lot too. So, and that's just the nature of the beast. So, my thing is, and I'm not trying, and I wasn't even talking about cutting all this asphalt and all this road projects.
No.
I'm talking about trucks right now, just 4 little trucks is all I'm talking about. And I'm talking about,
You know what, Diane, I totally hear you.
and the same way with the dump trucks.
4 trucks, I
I'm
understand.
not trying to get him out of buying dump trucks. I'm trying to hold him accountable for how he spends the money and what kind of trucks he gets.
Right.
Those trucks that he purchased, the last 3, are you happy with them?
As of right now, yeah.
Okay, do they work? Is everything fine? with
Yeah,
them?
I mean, if I had an extra pup trailer, it would not be able to pull a pup trailer. That was the whole key behind a new dump truck, was to have one more with a pup trailer. They do not have the power to pull a pup trailer. Did not quite realize that, but as of right now, they're doing okay. Some of the guys are liking how they drive and whatnot, so they're going to have their purposes for us. When we were looking at a new one, we were going to take care of our fleet of dump trucks for a long while if we were to get one more. I mean, we're going to sit pretty good right now as it is.
So is it impossible to ask that you get a used one that is capable of pulling a pup trailer?
No, that is not impossible, no.
And I know that even though we only have one pup trailer, we only have, I think you said one person that knows how to drive with a pup
Correct.
trailer anyway, right?
Correct.
So the fact that we only have one pup trailer and we have a truck that is accommodating that trailer, that takes care of that.
Correct.
So to say that we need to buy another to buy another dump truck, brand new, to accommodate a pup trailer that we don't have and that we don't have anybody to drive, somehow,
But that's where everyone's on me about training. We got the general public saying we need more end dumps and pup trailers and
everybody
so,
has their opinion. You know, it's
correct.
like
And that's why
everybody.
I gotta try to train someone else, someone young or something that has the ambition to wanna learn the pup trailer. I'm a big believer in cross training. And that's where I'm trying to get is with all my employees, with all my equipment. So saying that I have a guy, another 1 or 2 guys that could possibly do it, they don't have a lot of experience with it. And
Yeah, I
they would
think
need
you
some
were
more training, so.
Talking about backing them up and
Correct.
that area and stuff, you don't have anybody that's,
Correct, I mean, just not enough seat time, and
Right.
experience.
okay. So my point was, again, I can tell right now, I'm losing. I'm losing this battle. I just try to work for my constituents and the taxpayers.
Sure.
I don't work for the employees. I work for the taxpayer. And I just want my employees to be as accountable and as prudent as possible.
Sure.
So when I can see that they can buy a good truck for 20, 30, even if you have to spend $40,000 for a little better used one or something, to me is a whole lot better than $150,000.
Sure.
I do not believe in all this padding here and cushy here and all this stuff because I don't mind saving for the 100-year flood, that's fine. But I just think that there's gotta be a little bit more responsibility into that as well.
Sure. I totally understand.
you know.
I'm gonna flip this on you just a little bit, okay?
I know you're gonna tell me about a story where somebody and all the rock blew
Nope.
off the road.
No, I'm not gonna tell you that at all.
Okay.
You're telling Jesse that he can't buy a $150,000 truck, and it should be a $60,000 truck, so you can save the taxpayers money.
Mhm.
I would look at Jesse, I haven't done that yet, because I haven't worked with him as much. But the former road and bridge departments, I would look at him and go, you can't buy that truck based on my calculations, because that difference of $90,000 is gonna have to be used over here in the road project. And if you really wanna do the roads that he's got in the budget, then I would tell him the same thing as a budget preparer, but not because I'm gonna cut it, you know, to do other things with the mill levy. I'm gonna do it because to survive. If the commissioners really told me that they wanted 49 miles done or 15 miles done at whatever. So we have the same philosophy in that sense, because it's just, you're trying to save them over here and drop the mill levy. I'm trying to save it just to survive, to make sure that we want to do 15 miles of road at the $7 million, okay? If we don't want to do that, that's why I always start with the big one. I'm not trying to say the big picture is the way I always look at it, but if I know for sure, then I'm probably going to look at each one of these budgets, 'cause we've had to do that, and we go back to every department and said, we really need to do $2 million of roads over here, but we don't want to raise the mill levy. How are we gonna do that? And it's a 1-year fix. We would go back and we go, hey Jesse, you know what? You've got those 4 trucks, and you've got this. You think we can make it another year? And we've done it several times, because we've put off those purchases in order to be able to buy the road products over here to do those roads. So we're really on the same page. I'm not going against you at all. I'm trying to make this budget work, even at 72 mills, if we're really wanting to do this much roads. We've got, that's probably one of the biggest prices I've ever worked with here.
So you said you're trying to make this budget work at 72 mills.
I said if that's what I'm asked to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you say, that's what they usually do. The commissioners over the years will say, we want this at 72, how does it work? And I'll come right back, I've done it many years and said, well, that last conversation we usually have, if I transfer this money from here, and I know I'm not gonna need it in the special machinery because the lease purchases are paid off this year, this is a 1-year fix, I can take this 250, put it over here, take care of those chip and seal roads. I can take the risk management fund, because we've talked about that before, dropping it down to half of what it was, and I can fund another 125,000. I mean, those are the types of things that once they tell you or whoever tells me I need 72 mills and that's the max, then I have to go in and Tina and figure out how we're gonna put these pieces of puzzle together. And it may be going back to Jesse and saying, Jesse, we can't afford those dump trucks and those pickup trucks this year. We can't buy them in 18 and we can't buy them in 19. How can we make this work?
So then why don't you do that? Let's keep it at 73 mills, see if you can do that.
Well,
That's the question I've been asking
Right.
for 2
That's what
days.
we're
I'm trying to
get.
get it down to that point.
I know, I'm sorry if I'm not communicating properly, but if you told me, you 3 commissioners told me 72.8 mills is where I want it, okay?
Then we can work.
Then we'll have to go in and try to figure out a way to make that happen. But it's like I told you the other day, that's a 1-year fix.
Got it.
Because I'm gonna take away all your cash balances from all these little extra funds like risk management and special equipment and all these things to happen to make the road project to happen. And I realistically, I don't know if we can make the road project happen. I don't know that we can pay the transfer station bill. I'm being honest with you. I don't know if we have enough cash carryover in those other funds, like the 500,000 in the general fund for building, multi-purpose building. That probably is gonna go bye-bye, because I've gotta figure out how to pay 1.5 million, because I'm not sure we're gonna be able to do a lease purchase.
We have
or-
800,000 in the transfer station now.
If you
so-
drain it completely and have nothing for
Right.
operation.
And
Well,
see, the
I'm just-
problem
When
with
you're talking about draining yours, that's what he just said, he would drain yours.
the transfer station, the 788, if that's spent there, that pretty well takes all the cash carryover in that fund.
Every
There's
drop.
there's nothing left. It'll be to zero.
Yeah.
Because that's what that 788 is, it's cash carryover that is used.
For
And
these
even though we're putting
purposes.
it to building, it's used because, and if you do the 3-month expenditure test there, all of a sudden, we probably have to have 150,000 to pay those bills there.
In
We-
January.
Yeah,
So you wouldn't be able to use it all, you'd have
Mhm.
to at least have your January operating covered
yeah.
before.
So I think we're all on the same page. I just need to know, is it 72 mils?
The
Is it
commission needs
75?
to
Yeah.
give direction as where you want the budget overall, and then,
Yeah, and if it says 72, let's pick that number, 72, then what I have to do is go back, and I asked Tina, and literally I'd sit here probably the rest of the day just trying to figure out if I can take this cash balance from here, put it here. If I've got some in Jesse's, I've been down to the road, Bev, many times. Bev, you think we can take this amount out of here to make this work over here? Because that's what ends up having to happen. Once you set that, say this is where we're gonna stick at, then I have to go, with Tina's help and all the department heads, go and figure out, where these pieces are gonna come to be able to fund it. And then I would come back and say, yeah, we can do it, but it's gonna be a 1-year fix. Or it's gonna be, no, we can't do it, unless we get lease purchase on the, some type of a debt on the transfer station. And the roads, I'm not sure that we can, one time, Koch Industries showed up here and said, we will lease purchase all your roads in Marion County that are blacktop if you will work on it. I said, oh, really? What happens in the lease purchase contract when it says there's a non-appropriation clause and we can't pay for that the second year because that's what a lease purchase is? Who gets the roads in? Well, we would set up toll booths on every one of your, we would set up toll booths on every one of your county.
Make the taxpayers happy,
And
wouldn't
that's
it?
what Coke told me, because we were trying all these different things. Toll booths on Marion County roads, that would be crazy. Don't put that in there. But that's the types of things. I have literally, Jesse doesn't know this, but Bev, you went down and asked Bev. I bet Tina and I have been down to Bev, because that's where a lot of the money sits, in the fund. General fund, she kind of has the general fund, making sure it happens. And Bev helps us with the road and bridge. Bev, can we get any more money? We need money. So I guess that's where I'm. So if you all three say 72.8 or whatever that number is, that will be my next job. Is
And
trying to,
I bet you could probably do that.
I probably can,
I
but
bet
you know
you
what's
can.
going to happen next year. That's what that's.
We might have to take it back up to 75 next year, who knows? But at least ways, if we're at 75 now, next year we won't be going up to 76, 78, 79.
Yeah.
And
I'll say one other thing here, and this is back to your economic development question, okay? Because I work with a lot of cities and counties and schools.
that's a tough
Okay.
one.
If I was an industry coming into Marion County and all of a sudden we are at all gravel roads, I would say no way.
I don't even
Because
foresee that happening.
I'm just
I just think that's kind of way off the charts.
I'm just telling you, because that's
Okay.
where I grew up, Chautauqua
Okay.
County,
Okay.
Forest County in the state of Kansas.
Mhm.
They tried to blacktop 12 miles to Elgin, Kansas.
Mhm.
I just drove it the other day. It's all gravel. It lasted literally less than 1 year, chip and seal. They tried to, and they didn't do it right,
But see, now there you go. They didn't do it right.
Well, if they couldn't do it right because they didn't have enough money. Their assessed value is like 22 million.
They tried to make an improvement.
What I'm saying is, the reason I'm telling you Chautauqua County, my dad was a banker there for 56 years. Go to Chautauqua County and see how many industries have chosen Chautauqua County to be their home site.
And that-
Not a single one, because they don't want that kind of county. So that's what the delicate balance is between economic development and this lady saying we're having too high of taxes, okay? And even those people that, I wasn't here last year, but the economic development's come in here and said Scott didn't know what he's talking about in a sense, with how the taxes and all these monies are around here. And balancing that out with people that you want, like let's just say, not a biga, but a large industry comes in, builds over there in Hillsborough or Marion, that would be awesome. But what draws them here, I don't know if taxes, I guess that's the question I always ask everybody. I don't know if it's really taxes, there's a lot of other things that goes into that. So,
That
anyway,
was a great example with some great questions a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. You asked me about some of the fixes we're trying to do, and I just flat out said, we're doing Band-Aids. That's what I have money for, is to do Band-Aids. I don't have the money to do the right fixes on all these asphalt roads. So turning, it's happened before in this county, and I actually see it happening in the future, our asphalt roads possibly turning to gravel. And then what good's a road without a bridge replacement plan? That's another thing. I mean, what good's a road if you don't have a bridge? And I got 27 bridges that need to be replaced.
27?
27.
Well, I
The
thought it was like
recommendations,
7.
that's the fracture critical.
Oh,
But I have 27 bridges that they recommend replacing. And that's where I'd come up with,
Maybe we better look at your 30 mil increase.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what I know.
I mean,
and
from
the
what I'm
history.
hearing, I mean, we're gonna have to spend buku money. I mean, we just have no choice but just tax the people and just do it.
No, I think we have to make decisions, and we have to say, this is where we want to go this year. And you just tell me, and I'll do the best I can to get there, and I'll come back. Tina, I'll come back and say, no, that wouldn't work, or we're gonna be short here, and then if we're gonna be short here, then what we would do is probably go back to that, whatever departments that affects, if it's a general fund, and say, okay, we're gonna start cutting right now, or watching it right now, to make sure we have that cash carryover protected, so maybe we can save some things here in 18. You know, so those things all happen kind of automatically, once I know where the number's at, you know, where you want the number. And then all that stuff kind of, in a sense, happens automatically, the way the controls are set up here in the county.
With the great big picture, I really don't see where 2 mills is gonna devastate the roads. I really don't see that, but I do see where 2 mills would help the people.
Sure.
I mean, you know, look at some people, 2 mills is a lot to some people.
Sure it is.
2 mills is how much percentage of taxes do we know?
I think if I'm not mistaken, it's something like 70 some, like, would it be
Scott
something
will
like
tell
70
you.
some
If, like,
dollars
if you're
per
on a-
thousand?
What?
Is it,
Hold on a
something
minute.
like
Scott's gonna tell you.
$75 or something like that? Oh, he'll tell me.
On our county tax levels, is that what you're talking
Per, I think I
Right.
think, she said, but I think it's about $70 or $75 per thousand of assessed value, something like that. What is it, Scott? How wrong am I?
How wrong am I?
How wrong am I?
You just keep talking. I gotta
The
go.
He's,
lady-
he's gonna do a little
about?
calculating.
The lady that
See.
come in from out of state, I heard her say that too the other day.
Oh, he said that to you too, when you interviewed her?
She was, I didn't interview her, I was just sitting at the meeting because I was scared of secret meetings and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, you take and hear about people coming in, and people come from our company come from Colorado to Kansas. Colorado taxation is very low. When they come to Kansas, they pay a very high tax because of sales tax and all that. And I wonder the state she come from is if it's not that way too. I'm just saying that I know Colorado is, but I don't Tennessee. Was she from Kentucky?
I think she was Tennessee.
Yes, she's from Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I know that there's sales in a lot of their big towns and for tourism and stuff like that. And I could see why she would say that, and I can understand that, because I couldn't believe that Colorado, the guy out there, he brings his cars here to Kansas. Wow, he says, I gotta pay on each one of these each year, and the tax on them, you know, and so out there in Colorado, they don't have to do that. That was
Right.
when Rocky
While
moved here.
Scott is doing that, I'd like to share something with you.
Sure.
I've got 2 cars, a Chrysler 300 and a Yukon, and I lived in Ness County before I came here. It cost me about $230 to remove my tax in Ness County. How much do you think it cost me here?
For both of them or
For
one?
both of
How
them.
new are they?
The Yukon's a 2003, the Chrysler's a 2012. Cost me $230 for both of them in Ness County. Okay, came to Marion County. Guess how much it cost me?
500,
I don't know.
About $450.
450?
Cars don't gain value year to year. If anything, they lost value, and it cost me close to double.
But Ness pays, oil income pays some of that out there. the
Right,
reason why some of
they
those-
have some, their
Yes.
va- Ness
Or gas,
County's-
natural gas and
their,
stuff like that, yes.
Their valuation is very similar to Marion County's, but
Yeah.
they only have about 3,000
But
people.
I know an individual
You
from
know.
Johnson County that has
Yeah.
a farm in Marion County.
But I
His
will
is
s-
now tagged in Marion County.
I will say that, at that time, this was when the oil crash happened. But I want to share that with you, as to me, that tells me the taxes here are high. You're never going to be able to be the same as Ness County because they have oil. But I do think that they're too high. I've got a big business over in Hillsborough that chose not to expand here. They bought a place in Ohio because of the taxes.
I hear that a lot, thank you for sharing. I hear that when I travel around in my meetings and stuff, people comparing what we're doing here with their counties and stuff, and we just don't get a good report outside this county, and that's not good,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so 2 mills on a $100,000 home, I'm just picking that one out, is $23. That's what it says. 'Cause it's 100, it's 136, 510, and 2 mills would be 273,000. 100,000 is 11.5 times 2, so it'd be $23 for 2 mills
For the year,
for the year.
what I would say, for the
On a
tax.
$100,000 house. Now, when you get into ag land stuff, it gets a little bit more complicated.
Well, I know where I'm set Scott on his way to give us a number, but that's Jimmy and them, they haven't come back yet, I don't know what's,
Jimmy and them.
sheriff.
Oh,
Okay, well, you wouldn't necessarily need that
Yeah,
before.
but let's just talk about that. That's 273 is 2 mills, and 296 is the amount of sales tax we have left over in the jail fund. So if there's an opportunity, there would be another place I could potentially get money out of the general fund and put it into pay for that stuff that if it qualifies. And then that would help reduce the general fund. But we have to look at the whole picture, and you need to tell me mill levy, and you tell me what road projects are gonna be paid out of the capital improvement fund. Those are really the 2 big things. The rest of these things are pretty well covered in the line items, except for the bill, 3 things. The building, how you want, when that building's gonna happen with the transfer station, will that be 18, 19? So those 3 things, mill levy, roads that you really want to try to accomplish in 19. Do you want to spend the capital improvement fund to zero, basically what's going to happen? Because that's all we can do. I don't see how we can fund that, because you have to go to vote. You'd have to go to vote on a bond issue. And then the other 750,000, probably going to be more like 800 and almost 900,000 of funding, because that 788 in the transfer station is spending all the cash. So you can't spend all the cash because you've got to keep paying salaries and all that, especially in January. So those are the 3 things. If I knew roughly where you guys want that to be, then we can probably take, 'cause that 296 is going to help, the sales tax, if we can truly spend it on all the things they talked about, because that's not going to come out of the general fund. So, I mean, it's things like that. I just need to know what the end game's going to be, so I can figure out with Tina's help and all the department heads where we're going to fill. Now, that 296 is a one-time fix. I mean, we have to, but it's some of the things you're fixing there are things that hopefully will last for,
7 more years.
yeah,
8
hopefully.
more years, yeah.
So, I'm gonna jump out of the box and answer your question, and I know they're gonna chime in. But I'm gonna say, I'd like you to start at that 72.6, or was it 72.8?
72,848.
848.
Okay, I'd like to see you start with that, and see if you can stay with that. And I do wanna say one other thing to the commission. I understand exactly what he's saying, but we are still forgetting one very important element, and we're getting ready to sign a pilot agreement. And so there will be large sums of money coming into this county starting next year to pick up something. Now, we can't budget, of course, because we don't know what that will be, but we can't just blow it off and not realize that we do have some of that coming in as well. And I don't know where we, at that time, but I'm just saying, and so I'm sitting here thinking, we can cut this budget back, and I'd like to make the department heads a little bit more accountable for their expenditures. I do still have a problem with all them trucks, but, I think I beat that horse to death, cause I'm not gonna win that, so, if, whatever you can do with the 72.4 would be good for me, or 72.5, we just round it, whatever, and, so Randy, what would you like to do?
The lowest I'll go for mill levy is 75. I would cut the 6.27 off. I'd vote for 75 mills.
What good would that do? I mean, that's not gonna benefit anybody, that's not gonna help money, that's not gonna help, just taking off that .6.
I'm doing as good as what you're doing.
Oh, okay. Kent, where do you stand?
Well, I want us to be able to address the issues that we have before us, that's gonna come down the road. We also have, like you've talked, the other side is the taxpayers. And we wanna show good faith, the taxpayers, and be able to continue our operations efficiently and not have to scrap plans. We may still have to scrap some plans. But what I would recommend is 74 mills.
So do we need to give you, because you don't want to do double work, so do we need to give you one number?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys need to really vote
Okay,
and
see, now that's
decide.
kind of crazy in a way, because I said 72.5, and you said 70 what? 74. So we're actually gonna haggle over 1 point some mil instead of just going, I mean, you don't know what they can do with the 72 or the 72.5.
Scott,
Yeah.
can we use this for culverts is one thing I asked in the presentation. That line item, can we use that for the special bridge?
Yeah, that's the 220, we've always had it for state bridge projects.
Right, that's the question that I had asked, and I don't know that we ever got to an answer on it.
Since it's in the road and bridge fund, it shouldn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So Ken, I'm saying the 1 point whatever it is difference that you're asking for, if we tell Scott to go with the 72.5, and he comes up and says, hey, the best I can do is the 73, got that. But do we have to split hairs on it?
No,
Can't we work
no,
together and just
that's
come up
just,
with?
like I said, I'm trying to show good faith to both sides.
I think you're kind of riding the fence, but, I'm
Riding the fence.
Mhm.
Find my saddle
So
somewhere.
you're coming to a compromise position,
Right, right.
is what I'm getting from it.
I don't really hear a compromise position, but, so,
Is that the dead middle, Kent, that you figured?
Yes, somewhere, yeah.
75.5, dead middle is 73.
I can live with that. I can live with
But
that.
that's
I
what
use
they
74, you know,
74
coming
is
down.
half, because you're 72,848. 72,848 is right at 73.
Yeah,
So 74 is half.
Right.
Basically, you
Between
got two
four.
mills, yeah.
right.
Okay, so you told me though that you can work on this.
We,
I'm going to still stick with my 72.5, and let you do what you can do. If you can't do it, come back
I
and tell me
think
that
that
you can't
Scott
do.
is gonna need a vote of the commission of where they want the mill levy to be before he's able to move on, because he's not gonna be able to prepare it and then there's not enough time
Right.
to keep coming back with additional. Am I wrong on
No,
that?
you're right. Yeah.
Okay. He's too polite to tell you, but I'm gonna tell you. The commission needs to vote on this so that he knows what to do. Please.
I'll make a motion.
What's your motion?
I'll make a motion to set the mill levy at 74.
Got a motion to set the mill levy at 74. Do I have a second?
Just in a little bit here, I'm trying to figure out dead half. I would split right in half, whatever his half is. If that's 74.
So the motion is 74. Do I have a second? Do I have a second for a motion of 74? So motion dies for lack of second.
Make a motion to split the vote between the 72 and the 75, 6.27 in half to go right to the halfway mark, and that'd be your total mill increase, or decrease, be a
What is
decrease.
that number?
Hold on, I'm trying to. $74.237.
74.237.
Yeah, if you take the difference between the 75,627 last year and the 72,848, and that would be 2.779, which is out there to the side. Divide that by 2, be 1.39 would be the amount of decrease. 1.39 mils would be the decrease from last year's mill levy to this year's, is what his
And the mill levy, I'm sorry, would be what, 74 point what?
74.237.
That's your motion.
Yes.
I'll go in second.
Well, I guess it's already done then, huh? So, I mean, I think he kind of took over. So, you have a motion and a
Have to go
second for
somewhere.
74, what'd you say?
237,
237.
74.237.
What'd you say?
I
thought
said
you
we
made
have
a
to move
comment.
forward.
We have a motion for 74,237, and a second by Kent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Aye. There you go.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Okay, now the question, when do you want this back? Because you're gone till Tuesday,
Yeah, and you're gone.
and I'm gone from Wednesday to Sunday, and we have to publish that Friday,
We have a meeting Tuesday, don't we? Monthly. Monthly meeting Tuesday.
I just think we could have done a little bit better on that. We could have tried a little harder.
I don't know if this one.
Pardon me?
I said, I still don't have two answers. What we're gonna do on roads and what we're gonna do with the building, because even with 74.237, I don't know if it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I
So
almost tasted
we
it.
probably, we need to nail those things down too before we say when we're coming back with this. So,
Well-
commission,
What is the question? Excuse me, what is the question? Scott?
My question is, I know you have two roads set, 330th and
No, we did,
60th.
No, it's,
we did
uh,
330.
Nighthawk.
Nighthawk and 60th, yeah, okay. So that's 7 million, okay, so we'll have, what will we have there, 4 million?
At the end of this year, 4 million, at the end of next year, potentially 5 million.
5 million,
If we do
okay.
all the transfers.
Okay, so I need to know, do we stay under the $5 million to do whatever roads we can for $5 million?
And are you gonna do your $5 million worth of roads, is that your plan in 2018?
Yeah,
Which means that you wouldn't do any roads this year because that's gonna have to carry to fund that next year, right? You wouldn't do any big road projects out of capital improvement this year.
What were you planning on doing this year? Big improvements this year?
I was hoping Nighthawk.
oh, this year,
This year?
in 18.
Instead of
19?
19?
Yeah.
No, this year.
In
Yeah, but
18 or
there's-
19?
This year.
18?
So we're not engulfing Nighthawk then into the 19?
Yeah, so it already, cash already gets used up, so we don't have,
We only have-
we would only
we
have
won't even
like
have-
$2 million maybe in 19.
No,
Or you have
maybe
that,
1.
1 million? How many miles is
I
that?
hope that project comes in
Nighthawk is 13
a lot
miles.
less
Oh,
than the
it's
7
13,
million.
is that
Well,
the
it's-
old 13 mile road?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's,
Indigo.
but they've
And
got
I added
figures
2
for
more
everything,
miles,
and I don't know
60.
if we can do
So it's
something.
total of 50.
Oh, okay, 60 only has 2 miles.
Yes.
Okay, so if we do Nighthawk in 18 times 446, or what was that?
It's gonna have to be less than that.
I mean, it may be even too late, I don't know for this year, but
I'm gonna say by the time you would, is that even a possibility for 18?
the later we get, more than likely, it's not even a possibility.
That'd be 5.2 million if you had a 400,000 per mile, 13 miles. That'd be 5.2 million. And that's about where it wouldn't quite be 5.2 million when we got done of 19. Yeah. We'd have 4.9 probably or something like that.
So then, I want to ask another question. So Jesse had mentioned to me a couple days back, and this is just a question, okay? He's making a lot of payments still on a lot of equipment. About $180,000 worth a year, I think. Those the payments, am I right, Jesse?
Yeah, we've cut a lot out of that. I've been proud that we haven't added a lot to it, and we are knocking a lot out, yes.
So by buying the used equipment and stuff going forward, we can help with, because over the years, I mean, this has been going on now for several years that we make these payments all the time, and that kind of stymies us a little bit too.
I mean, next year we'll be done with 3 more pieces of equipment finally, which is gonna eliminate a little over 100,000. You know. And I have added 2 things to it, but I mean, this was a big list and we're just knocking on it year by year, so I've been really happy that we've been trying to get these payments gone. So I've been really happy with the way it's been going, so.
And I was just really, and all I'm saying is, you know, I really just think we need to buy used wherever we can. Because these payments and things like this is just tearing us up in some cases. And I don't know that that's really the way to go. A lot of counties buy stuff used.
I understand that, and I think we have to consider used for like motor graders. How in the world are we gonna afford $300,000, $350,000, $400,000 motor graders
Well, that's
when
what
that
we-
time comes?
That's what we've been doing, I know. We've
And
been-
that we have purchased a used one, and it's been a good one. There are good used machines out there. I'm not.
But some of the lease purchase programs, if they're set up correctly, they're the best way to go.
There are lease options out there too that I'm trying to work on as well. Some as a lease. I know we're going back into payments again, but if we were to do something like that, but there are some better lease programs than what was in the past, I think. I'm not 100% certain on that. That's why I'm trying to check.
Better put a line item for about 3 more mechanics when we do all used equipment too.
That's,
Oh, Randy. Just one good one would take care of it. Jesse, I have another question for you. On these roads that you say that we're putting Band-Aids on, is there any way, and we had talked about this just before, can we maybe reduce the number of miles at a time and maybe do them a little bit better? And I understand what you're saying too about the trucks and the semis going down south on the roads.
They just tore it up just like
But,
the weeds.
but this is ag country. Do we not know to build roads to accommodate that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. We know that's gonna happen. So I think we need to really rethink the way we do roads. And I would love to do 13, 20 miles at a time. But if we could do half of that really good or right, we would save a lot of money in the long run by not doing it every 8 months.
I agree.
So I'm just asking if that's possible. So even on this big project that you're talking 13 miles, and I'm not familiar with that whole road, is that's 2 separate roads? am I
2
right?
separate roads. One is a 13-mile stretch. One's a 2-mile stretch.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, if we can't do all of that in 1 year, is that gonna be devastating? Can we do another one? If we
No.
do it right and move on to would we be better off doing that?
If we knocked out half, I'd be
See, there you go,
smiling.
Scott.
As long as we knew we're going back to it the following year, or when, you know, as long as that's the next place we're going back to finish it, I'd be tickled pink.
Well, see,
At
that's
least
all I'm saying.
get a start somewhere.
See, that's all I'm saying. If he would've knew that before we voted or something, see, he's thinking he has to come up with 7 million or 5 million or something. Well, if he knew that he had that flexibility before we voted or something, we could have probably done it a little better.
But now, not experiencing that, I don't know if the prices go up because you have your mobilization fees.
Yeah, you're gonna pay
You
But
more.
have
don't. You
the
don't.
oil prices may shoot up.
I got that,
Okay.
and we all know that, yes, and I appreciate you saying it, but also just like the wonderful thing that we had on 330th. Did we know the bottom was gonna fall out, we were gonna get such a good buy on that? We didn't at first, so, I mean, that was
Well,
awesome.
and that's why I've been projecting, because we kind of did know. I mean, with KDOT struggling the way they had, that's why I've been trying to project these road projects, because these contractors are,
And they're still struggling, aren't they?
they're still struggling for work. And the whole object and point behind the Nighthawk project was APAC has an asphalt plant 4 miles from that location, which when it comes to competitive bidding, there's a good possibility we'll see prices people haven't seen in a long time, if ever. I mean, I'm going by off just quotes that I was not able to give.
Well, we're gonna have to get it going or this.
Yeah, I mean, if this year was still a possibility, at least get something done, some of it done, that would be great because,
While they're struggling.
yeah, why they're still looking for work and they haven't moved out of that asphalt.
You could potentially go for bids and see how the bids come
Sure.
out, but you may or may not be able to do the project this year, depending on what the bids come back.
Possibly.
See how long.
The greatest thing is we have the study done, the testing done. You know, now we're at the, do we do it and do how much of it do we do? And let's get the bids out. That's the great thing. We're done with the testing.
When you bid it, you can always ask for a have them bid it as a whole project, and then also have an alternate if they do it in phases, to see how much more it would cost.
And see, I think that's the wise thing to do. I don't think that we necessarily have to strap the taxpayer to do everything at one time. I think there's just ways that we can work throughout this community to keep the taxes low and still accomplish something. That's
I
all I'm
agree.
saying.
I agree, Diane.
But if you spend everything in capital improvement this year, you're still not gonna be able to fund the second year without raising the levy to be able to fund that. So just. throwing
So
it out
are you
there.
so see, I guess here's my stagnant part, Scott Hill. So suppose we would've just kept it flat, like Randy suggested. Are you telling me then in 2020, we wouldn't have to raise it again?
No.
See, that's what I'm trying to stop. I mean, ultimately, we've gotta come to it.
Yeah, but it goes back to decisions. What do you want in your county?
I want quality work, so
Quality
that we
work.
don't have to do the roads every year, the
Okay.
same old roads every year.
Yeah. I totally
And
understand.
that right there is a bucket full of money right there, saved. And every year, if we can just do so many roads and do them right, would we not in 10 years look a whole lot better than we are right now?
Yeah,
So they're
could be.
gonna close the roads temporarily that can't be maintained while you're building these roads?
No, I'm not saying, see, you're going off one
No, I'm
bend to
not,
the
I'm
other.
really not.
We're
I'm just
already looking
asking.
better with the Roxbury Road, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's
mean-
awesome. And look at what we got that done for. We said that before, yeah.
Correct. I mean, so I believe that you commission are already making those improvements. If we can, it's gonna be a slow process.
Very slow process.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the slow process than the high tax levy and trying to hurry up and get something done not right.
But
I don't wanna
something,
hurry up and do another Band-Aid.
I believe Roxbury will hold, I'm hopeful that that's gonna hold out for a long time. I mean, the life expectancy is 20 years. 20 years, we're not gonna have our 200 miles of asphalt done right. Whether we try, whether we get a lot of money from somewhere, I mean, the slow process is great, I understand, but all of a sudden we get to the 20-year mark. Of course, I'm gonna do my preventative maintenance that I'm supposed to on the Roxbury Road for the next 20, 25 years. But eventually that road will fail again. And where will we be at 20, 25 years from now and having to go back to the Roxbury Road? See what I'm saying? I mean,
think
these
the
roads
next
eventually
commission
will
worry
fail.
about that.
I, possibly. I'm just,
And maybe the next superintendent.
I'm not gonna have to worry about it.
I'm just saying, I also look into the future, and I'm just saying, these roads will fail, no matter what, the concrete stabilization, but I think you're getting your best life expectancy out of them. But in 20 years, we're not gonna have all the 200 miles of asphalt done the way the Roxbury Road is done. And eventually, that will fail, and then we're like, here we go, it's just keeps revolving.
And just dreaming into the future. My hope is, and I don't know what the other commissioner is thinking about, but probably not even thinking about yet because, but when we sign our pilot agreement, wouldn't it be nice if that amount of money every year could just be designated to so many miles of
That'd be great.
road? I mean, look how big we could improve our county then. That would be a gift. Well, it is a gift. So, you know, it's not doom and gloom by reducing the budget. Sorry.
It's not.
I disagree with that.
Well, I told you that 2 mills is going into a fund that we can't spend it for anything except for disasters, okay? Okay, but let's just go back to this road here, because I don't think people are understanding this. That $5 million just didn't get there overnight.
No, I know.
It was transfers over many years, okay? And we've been trying to figure out, I think you spent 3.5 million last year?
Yep.
Okay, so let's just say that we go on and do whatever we can for that $5 million, okay? And we do probably most of it this year. Oh, well, I don't know, you probably won't get the bid, so just say by next year, say we got the $5 million. Each year, we're transferring in about $1 million, a little over $1 million. $1 million doing a road right, which I don't know what that means exactly, if it's 400,000 or 350 or whatever, but that's gonna be about 3 miles at 3 or 4 miles. Let's just say 4 miles. Okay, so if we get it all spent this next year in 19, and then we start from there, and we're just gonna do 3 miles or 4 miles based on whatever that money is that we have in that fund, because that's what's gonna happen. The only reason you can do 8, 10 miles now is because of that money's been building up for probably 5, 7 years, 10 years.
No,
Well, it just
we did an
depends.
overlay project 7 or so years ago.
Yeah.
It's been building since then.
But we didn't spend it to zero.
To zero,
Right,
yeah.
to zero, right.
Okay, so that's what I'm just saying, looking forward. So the only way that fund gets rebuilt is mill levy,
Right.
okay?
Makes
That's the way it's transferred. Well, sales tax that runs through is part of it, and then the rest of it is mill levy, about 7 mills every year to get that 1 million, okay? So, if 4 miles is good miles, how many miles of blacktop do you got?
Approximately 200 miles.
So that's 50 years, of 4 miles a year. And when we did this study before, we had it actually set up to where we bond issued the roads, 45 miles, and then we said we'd do 2-inch overlays every 5 years to keep those roads where they should have been, okay? So what was gonna happen is we had the money, we just put it in right up front, and then we had it budgeted where this 1 million would come in and do, of those 48 miles, 2-inch overlays, would do so many roads each year, and so it was on a 5-year rotation.
But,
That never happened.
well, the reason was the price in year 2000.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Was here,
Yeah.
and the price in 2005 was up here. Already it doubled almost.
Right,
From
2008 was when the
Yes.
prices were the highest, they were like 232,000 a mile, and now we're talking, but that was just 2-inch overlay.
2-inch overlay.
That's not
yes.
even rebuilding them
No.
or doing like you're saying,
Concrete
so
base and stuff.
that whole capital improvement program is built on mill levy, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we wanna do any more than 4 miles, we have to we could do a little bit out of road and bridge, because we got blacktop in there, but that blacktop there is for chip and seal pretty well. That's 700,000 of chip and seal of the million. So there's what, I'm just saying that to do it just takes a constant, and that's why, so then I pull up 900,000 at 4% on a 10-year payout on your transfer station, okay? That's 109,000 a year for 10 years. That's what it would cost at 4%. I don't know, you might be able to get 3.5, I don't know. But let's just say it's 4%. Because 900,000, I looked at the transfer station, that's 788, if it's all spent, we might have 50,000 left in there after all the other, because all the other lines are pretty tight. And so where are we gonna come up with the 109? So that's why I asked those 2 questions. If we're gonna spend the 5 million on roads, that's great, and you'll do whatever you can do with it. You can do 7 miles of the 15 or 9 miles of 15, but there won't be anything left in capital improvement at the end of 19. And then we have to figure out where we're gonna come up with the 109 that will have to fund the transfer station. I assume
Isn't that by fee?
well, we've already increased the fee, haven't you?
Yeah, we did. We increased the fee to
Yes.
come up with another
Fee went
about
up, yeah, and so the fee went up another $20. I don't know what that's gonna run,
About
what that's gonna bring
100,000 a
in.
year, I think, Gina
Something like
figured.
that,
Yeah.
100,000 a year.
And I hope there can be a loan figured out to pay for some of that, because we didn't go sales tax. Sales tax would have been a different issue, we'd have been done with it and over with if we'd have voted it in, but.
So that really don't affect the fees help pay that out.
109?
No, about 95 or so. I think it's close to 100,000.
Well, because the increase in the 19 year was not 100,000, it was like 50,000. Would
We
you all be
we
happy?
increased it 50 because if you look at historically, we
Yeah.
had budgeted 550, but we are maybe not bringing it all in, so we didn't bump it.
Okay.
But it'll be easier to tell after we have a year.
Okay.
under our belt.
Have they said anything about would they go 10 years on a building like that, or 15 years?
I need to get back with Dave Arterbury again, because my last understanding from him was really that if we wanted to finance, just about the only option that we had without doing the election was to do, well, even with the sales tax, we would have had to have an election. So
Yeah.
there wasn't really
Yeah, 'cause
anything that
it-
he could see us utilizing without having an election.
You had mentioned one time it'd be there might be a possibility of doing a lease purchase on the transfer station.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but the problem with that is that statute's written because of Dr. Brown over in Hillsborough, well, we talked about that. You have to, what you have to do is I think it's either 3% or $100,000 if it's land, or if it's lease purchase on buildings. You have to do advertise, I think it's twice in the paper. If you have a petition up, then it has to go to vote. That's why they put that in there. So you could, and I mean, no one may question it, but it could potentially end up at vote. So.
And we don't know what that's gonna cost yet. I mean, we're speculating between $1 million and $1.5 million.
I would bet the numbers you see when they come back are close to $1.5 million. I would bet. But that doesn't mean that you can't ask them to reduce it and to make it more economical.
Or you don't have to do it all at one time either. We can do part of, because they were talking about doing phases anyway, building this new section and then back and forth like that a little bit. I don't know.
What other information do you need, Scott? Did you get all your questions answered that you needed?
Yeah,
to move forward?
I'll just look at, so would you have you don't think you'll have, if you did a lease purchase, say we just went that way, some debt, you wouldn't make a payment on the transfer station until 2020?
Right.
Okay.
And we wouldn't be lease purchasing the whole amount. We'd be using some of those reserves for that building.
Yeah, I only showed 900,000.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. I was supposed to ask you guys, and I forgot. So, Bud emailed me yesterday or last night, or late afternoon, that they have some potential numbers, and he didn't know if he wanted to try to do a work session on the 6th. We're not scheduled to have a meeting that day because it's the day before the election. Or if we want to try to just put it on the 13th. And then we need to figure out when we're coming back with budget. Because our hearing right now is supposed to be on the 20th. It must be changed that day.
So they have some numbers already worked up?
They had some information, so.
Okay, so,
But I would need to let them know.
and the
you know,
sooner
fairly
you know
quick.
that, the better off it'll be, right? Scott?
On the transfer station?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So could we
If
just
it's
do
not gonna, if the payment's not gonna happen until 2020, I'm not as probably concerned. I mean, we got a plan for it, but
So did you all want to just have try to have a work session or just a transfer station update the morning of the 6th?
How full is that schedule?
Right now, I didn't have a meeting on that day at all because
Election
of the
day.
elections this day. We usually don't meet the day before.
Oh, okay.
I'd be available, maybe.
Either way, do we wanna do just a work session and find out what it is and be done with it? So you'll know then, Scott?
I'm gonna need to know for the 6th unless you change the,
Okay.
and I think in this date
Yeah.
tied.
Right now, that's
Why
where
don't
we
we figure
have the budget.
1.5 and see
But
where
in
that
date
goes?
tied in some of the budgets
If we
we
got-
do in Marion County.
Okay, it is to all the cemeteries and the fire districts. I mean, they've already got those
That's
in
right.
their budgets.
That's right.
But they publish with us. But that would mean if we change it,
We'd have
that
to
we
let
would
that
have to
go.
change every single budget that we've done.
Yeah.
With the commission went to figure 1.5 as a max, maybe to start with. I mean, that's what we originally started at, but
I mean, I think
We'll
that's,
see.
from what I'm reading between the lines from Bud, that's where it looks like it's coming in.
But if the payment's not to 2020, I mean, that's something we'll have to deal with, but we can deal with it.
So having it on this day isn't gonna help you for budget
No,
purposes.
okay.
So, what do you need to know? Are you saying you don't need to know? For budget purchases?
No, I don't think so, if the payment's not till 2020.
What we do need to know for Bud is whether you want the engineers to come on this day or whether we can do it later in the month.
So, I guess nobody wants to do a special meeting on it, so I guess the 6th is fine with me, nobody else.
But this sixth
That
would
is
be a
special
special,
meeting.
because we're not meeting on that
Yeah.
day. So that's what I'm asking. Do you want to hold a special
Okay.
meeting
That'd be the
on the
only item.
6th, or do you want to just put it on a regular meeting later in the
We
month?
won't have a commission meeting that entire week? Because of the
Not, that's
election?
not what's scheduled at this point, right?
I'm okay with the 6th if everybody
Yeah.
else is.
Yeah, I have to have the work session for that, for those people
In the
to come
morning?
in, because then it's all tied to right to that.
Just in the morning, right? Because I need this room for supervising judges to check out ballots. I mean, we normally use this room to distribute the ballots and do all that for the election. And so that's the issue with holding the meeting this day,
I see.
because the room is tight.
So how is that
If
gonna,
you-
is that gonna inconvenience you then? A little bit?
Yes, a lot, but it's fine. I mean,
Well,
if you
can
guys
we
want
do
to
a
do it
special
that
meeting
day.
then a couple days prior? Let's see, we're gonna have a meeting on the 31st. Could we have it on Friday, or you're gonna be gone?
No,
You'll be here?
okay, I'm sorry. What are you
You're in
asking?
the wrong, are you in the wrong?
No, I'm in August, but I'm asking what date you're asking about.
Well, I hate to the
31st
election
election.
is a big day. She has a lot to do.
Yes, yes.
So I would like to stay away from the 6th to help accommodate that.
Okay.
So we have a meeting on the 31st. Can we do it on Friday morning just for an hour or two, or another day?
On the 3rd?
Yes. Is that gonna
Okay.
be better for you?
Nothing before the election is better for me. I mean, I'm serious, but it's fine. You guys can do what you need to do. I do have our public test of voting equipment in this room later in the day, and so I would need to have the room probably by 12 for that.
Well, could we see if he could come at 8? Or
I mean-
8:30?
Yeah, 8.
Okay?
Yeah, that'd be good. We can get out here by
Well,
9.
I'm gonna
let
take
them
this
have
one
it.
off. I'll see. I'll ask if the engineer would be available.
At 8 o'clock on the 3rd then?
Yeah. Okay, so the question remains, when are you?
So then I'll come back on the 31st, on the day that, I mean, it's kind of packed, but that's all I'll do.
Can we do it in the afternoon?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you all available on the 31st in the afternoon to work with Scott on the budget? Oh,
What?
I'm supposed to go to, that's okay, I'm supposed to go to Kiwanis, but it's at noon to demonstrate the voting equipment.
So you're
It's
just,
okay.
we can have, we're gonna take a lunch break anyway, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So would that work
Looking here,
for
let
you?
me see what-
I'll make it work, because I may have to just pull somebody else in here for a part of
Oh,
it.
goodness.
Because that's
Oh,
pretty
afternoon,
fast.
did it? Afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I got a Valley Township in Reno County at 9 a.m. that morning, but I can make it happen.
Okay,
So you wanna make it at 2 in the afternoon or something, to give you plenty of that, time?
does that work for you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm good.
2 o'clock would be great.
2 o'clock would be great? Okay, let's do 2 o'clock then. That works for you, Randy?
Yep, yep.
Are you
On
talking
the
about
31st.
You're talking about 31st, okay.
And we're still at 9 o'clock on the 31st,
Yes.
right?
Yep, that's my first day back from Colorado. We're driving back the day before.
Well, I hope you hit some rain on the way back.
We'll bring it back with us, how about that?
It's gonna start tonight, Diane.
That's what I hear. I'm hoping.
We're gonna get a lot of it.
You think?
Yeah,
Then
I
it's
hope
gonna wash the
that's
roads out, we're
official.
gonna find out what the
yeah.
emergency fund is.
You get all the chip seal done today?
Are they doing the chip seal now up in, Lost Spring? Is that what they're doing?
Not yet, no.
Oh, okay. I seen they had trucks up there, and I went around the other way, because they were putting tars on the road, and I thought, oh, what are they driving for that?
Well, I expect to start hearing comments about our pump and net going down the road from our constituents that like to see, when we're trucking across the county, we're hauling 2 loads instead of 1.
Of what?
Our pup trailer's on the road, our new pup trailer's in, and
Oh,
it's on the
all
road.
the-
Good,
I still have.
good.
I seen it, so, first time I seen it, so.
What did you see that on the highway?
On the highway, yeah.
Cause all I'm gonna do is to get to work and
Mhm.
Looks good.
Mhm.
And I think we'll train a young driver, hopefully somebody that's want to stay.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, find that out, if you can find that out.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Randy, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.